the only cards to play.
At what point do you have to start gaming out oil prices that stay around $100 a barrel or even higher for a prolonged period of time, especially because the Strait of Hormuz is becoming an intractable issue that's sort of unclear exactly how it can resolve?
Yeah, so right now we're saying that, if this were to end tomorrow, normalized oil prices go back to kind of 80 to 90. That's up from where we were, which was 65 to 75. Another 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to be in that 100 zone.
What's up, everybody? Good morning. So glad you decided to drop in. I put a live stream up last night just to have it up. You are now with me until 10 a.m. And I am just going to get things set up. And, yeah. While I do, I'm going to kick the news back on, but I'm going to pull up some more.
Years as people look to take regional geographic diversification in mind and shift away from the US and maybe buy more of other places.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about a much more balanced portfolio, right? We got to the point at the beginning of last year where, U.S. equities as a share of the total global equity market cap, had breached kind of 62%. I mean, that's extraordinary. I mean, the last, 15, 20 years, it's been around 55. So, I think it does mean that rest of world attracts capital. And we see much more global portfolios.
Did you know that PetSmart has auto ship? Well, now you do. Smart deals, low prices. PetSmart, anything for pets.
When you use Moomoo, you turn data into sharper trading decisions. Follow power players' trades and model their portfolios in just one click. And with Moomoo AI, spot what matters. Predict what's next and decide with confidence. It's everything you need on one.
Foreign terrorist organization. Under federal law, terrorism includes premeditated, politically motivated violence perpetrated against non-combatant targets, like the American children he targeted at this Jewish temple.
We're listening in here to an update from federal investigators down in Michigan. They are, of course, investigating what they're now calling a Hezbollah-inspired attack on a synagogue. We do need to step away for a quick commercial break. We are continuing to follow all of the latest updates coming out of the Middle East, as I want to bring up close this image that we have over in Beirut, Lebanon, where just moments ago we did see some smoke out there in the distance. Several military operations continue to be conducted there by Israel. And also later on today, we are getting an update from officials at the Pentagon regarding Operation Epic Fury. We'll be right back.
He's really focused on now is what you just mentioned, the energy pipeline, the Strait of Hormuz. And he's very concerned about keeping that open. For the moment, the Iranians seem to have that as a choke point. How do you think you and the United States can open that strait so that Iran can no longer choke the energy? I heard there's about 1,000 ships or close to it waiting to go through either side of the waterway. How do we open it up?
I think there are military solutions to that the United States is leading, and I won't get into that. But I think post-war, there are things that I hear from the Arab countries and from in the United States as well. And I think these are interesting ideas to divert all the energy pipelines.
These concerns that the central bank would be forced to tighten monetary policy to keep inflation from accelerating. That's Bloomberg Brief. John?
Yahira, thank you. Thank you very much. On this program about 30 minutes ago, Michael Haig of SocGen made the point that the UK was very close to running out of jet fuel. The President, with this statement on social media just moments ago, All of those countries that can't get jet fuel
Andrew,
because of the Strait of Hormuz, like the United Kingdom, which refused to get involved in the decapitation of Iran. I have a suggestion for you. Number one, buy from the US, we have plenty. And number two, build up some delayed courage, go to the Strait and just take it. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. The president goes on to say, go get your own oil.
This has been the tenor increasingly of the conversations with European nations, the UK, given disproportionate ramification and the unwillingness to get involved in the fight.
More on that statement in just a moment. Up next on the program, setting the table for a deal.
It's no surprise that we are seeing the remaining elements of the regime become increasingly eager to end the destruction and come to the negotiating table while they still can. What is said publicly is, of course, much different than what's being communicated to us privately.
Up next on the program, we'll catch up with Libby Cantrell of PIMCO, live from New York City this morning. Good morning.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's good that Benjamin Netanyahu as well as President Trump are actually coordinated with regard to the Strait of Hormuz as well as potential ground troops if it actually reaches that point.
Yeah, Darren, really quickly, do you think that that is a viable option, what the Prime Minister was laying out there?
Oh, I absolutely do. And there's already some plans in place to work that in the first place. So if you've got a choke point and someone's got control of it that is not working for the good of specifically the Western world, but basically the global market in general, then you find a way around it to take away their power and make sure they understand that's exactly what we're doing. And if Iran becomes a friendly nation again and the Straits of Hormuz open back up, then so be it also. But having a plan B is never a bad thing.
Right.
Exactly. In negotiation, it's called a BATNA, best alternative to negotiating agreement. Thanks so much, Darren and Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you.
As we just showed you, Newsmax's CEO, Chris Ruddy, sat down with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
We have more from that conversation coming up. You're watching First Edition, only on Newsmax 2, and always live from the Newsmax newsroom.
Will you be able to afford your golden years?
When
Do you
news
worry
breaks,
how you'll make ends meet? You may be leaving up to $100,000 unclaimed. You need this special report.
It's interesting, Debbie, because I'm not sure if you can see on your end, but the poll question that we have here on the screen, people are already voting. A lot of people overwhelmingly, yes, so far saying that they would go to the moon. Very interesting there. So keep voting, everybody, while we have Debbie on here. Let's talk about the people that are actually going to be going on this mission, though. That is this fabulous crew that I have brought up here onto the screen. Debbie, talk to us a little bit about the training that they...
Find the right care team, maintain a positive mindset, advocate for yourself, and ask your doctor about Nubeqa.
How about ask my doctor about shutting
almost 3 years ago, so they have been doing an extensive amount of training. You know, a lot of their training consists of learning about the spacecraft and all the systems and how they operate. Because they will be going so far from Earth, they may have to deal with situations or issues or problems on their own. And have to know how to respond. And so they spent a significant amount of time learning about all of the new systems on Orion. You know, we're testing out the very first test of our environmental control and life support system. So learning how that works, just learning how to live and work in this spacecraft. How does it fly? How does it operate? How do we, you know, address issues that may arise? So they spent a lot of time doing that. And in the in mock-ups that we have located at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, simulators where they can actually practice flying the spacecraft, looking at the displays, just checking out the entire spacecraft and practicing all the procedures that they're going to be executing on this mission. So there's a commander and a pilot. They'll be responsible primarily for flying the spacecraft if they have to take over manually. And we're actually going to do a demonstration where the pilot and the commander actually fly the spacecraft within the first few hours of the mission. We're going to hand over control from Mission Control in Houston. And actually, they will be manually piloting the spacecraft, kind of taking it for a test drive and see if it actually responds the way that we have expected it to and simulated on the ground. And then the rest of the mission, we've got about 140 different flight test objectives that are spread upon the 4 crew members. And they'll all be checking out things, like I said, like our environmental control and life support, checking out the acoustics, the exercise device. We've got a bathroom, you know, a water dispenser so they can hydrate and heat their food, a lot of Earth observations.
lunar observations, tissue sample experiments. So they'll be really busy those 10 days while they're flying around the moon.
Very busy indeed. Not only are they going to be conducting really important, scientific research here on this mission, but they're going to be getting some pretty incredible views. Debbie, it was the crew of the Apollo 8. They actually captured that iconic image of the Earth rising in the distance as they orbited the moon. What is this Artemis 2 crew going to be seeing on their space flight?
Yeah, so the crew on Artemis 2 will be flying around about the closest approach to the moon will be about 4,000 miles. And so it'll be a little further away than some of the images that we saw on Apollo 8. But they will be going further than any humans have ever flown from the Earth. We're going quite a bit further than where the Apollo missions went. So I think we'll get some great images on that backside of the moon, things that we don't ever get to see. So really looking forward to that imagery and just the actual personal experience that we'll hear from each of them.
Now, Debbie, I know that you're very excited. We're very excited to see this. Anything else that you would like to add, of course, as the deputy manager for the Orion program? And given the fact that the Orion spacecraft is going to be the one that's taking this specific crew out there to this mission.
Yeah, just that we're very excited. Things are looking good. I'm here at the Kennedy Space Center now. We were up on the pad yesterday, took a peek inside the vehicle, should be powering it up today, getting it ready for that launch tomorrow. So everything's going well. And this is like the first step. We want to continue this journey of exploration, and Artemis 2 and the Orion spacecraft is the very start of that exploration.
Debbie Korth, the deputy manager for the Orion program. Again, we'd love to have you here at Live Now from Fox. You're at Kennedy Space Center. It's going to be a real good time. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope we also get to witness that historic launch.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, let's stay on this for a little bit longer here. I do have that viewer poll question there at the bottom of your screen. Please scan the QR code. Submit your answer there as I bring us out to yet another live look that we still continue to have over at the Kennedy Space Station there. Would you take a commercial flight to the moon? So we have a lot of people that have answered so far. 53% of you saying yes, 29% saying no, 18% saying after more testing. And you know what? I might be with that particular group. Maybe after some more testing. Something a bit scary about going to space, at least in my opinion. I got a couple of people here in the room with me. Josh, so our very own Josh Breslow is here. Would you go out there to the moon? Okay, that's great. Because, okay, so he said, I don't think you guys can hear, but he feels like he's on the moon working here, and it's just because it's so out of this world terrific working here. We also have Christy Matino, who's also on the air later on today. Christy, would you go to the moon? Okay, she said absolutely not. And, all right, and she is claustrophobic. Okay, great. So, not too enthusiastic in terms of some of the personnel here, but the viewers do seem enthusiastic. 53% of you saying, sure, why not? We'll be right back. taking a live look at this image that we are just getting into our newsroom right now, remember that coming up in a little over a half an hour or so from now, we are going to get an update from officials over at the Pentagon on Operation Epic Fury. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and also General Dan Kane are going to be providing more details on U.S. military operations there in the Middle East, as President Trump has said the negotiations are ongoing with members of the Iranian regime. Of course, this war has been going on for more than a month, and those developments do continue to pour in throughout, really hour by hour sometimes, throughout these last 4 weeks or so. In fact, earlier on this morning, we brought to you live images of smoke that was seen out in the distance in Beirut, Lebanon, as Israel is also continuing to strike targets in the region. The Associated Press saying this in terms of some of the latest updates that they are also providing. Some of the focus continues to be on the economic impact. Now, the United Arab Emirates said sharply highly gasoline and diesel fuel prices on Tuesday for the coming month, with gasoline going up over 30% and diesel jumping up more than 70%. The UAE government sets the price monthly in line with international pricing, which has spiked over the Iran war, and Tehran maintaining its chokehold over the Strait of Hormuz. So premium gasoline in the UAE will be $92 a liter, which means $3.49 a gallon, where premium on average in the U.S. is $4.90 a gallon. So that is the latest in terms of some of these fuel prices that have been significantly impacted due to this war. Also, the Egyptian president has briefed Russia's leader in a call. The Egyptian president briefed Russian President Vladimir Putin about Egypt's efforts to de-escalate in the region during a phone call that happened on Tuesday. He said that Russia is able to help put an end to the war. That's according to a statement from the office of Egypt's president. And also, Italy has refused the U.S. permission to use its air base. Italy refusing that and the permission for U.S. military assets to use some of their air bases in Sicily for an operation linked to the Middle East offensive. That's according to an official there in Italy. The refusal was issued a few days ago and concerned U.S. aircraft, including bombers, which were intended to land at the base before continuing toward the Middle East. Under agreements governing U.S. military use of bases in Italy, Rome must be formally consulted and grant approval before operations can proceed. That also comes as we heard that Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said that NATO allies have abandoned the U.S. in their time of need. It remains to be seen if later on this morning, Secretary of War Hegseth will touch on some of the support or lack of support that the U.S. has received amid this ongoing war. At the same time, though, we're tracking several other headlines. I want to bring us out to this. It's a live image that, once again, we do have over at Kennedy Space Center. Just before the commercial break, we got an update from the deputy manager for the Orion program. The Orion spacecraft is the one that's going to be carrying that 4-member crew of astronauts to orbit the moon tomorrow in a historic launch that's been dubbed Artemis II. Now, we've been hearing from those astronauts. They have been holding briefings almost every day regarding this specific mission. But also, one of the things that we're watching closely is the weather. A lot of factors have to come into play and be just right in order for this mission to be successful. Our team at Fox Weather is following those details closely. I'd like to get to this report from them next.
Rocket gearing up for launch tomorrow. This will be the first time that man goes to the moon in about 53 years. Fox Weather correspondent Katie Byrne takes us back to the Apollo era and shows us how this next mission builds on that legacy.
We know weather can make or break a launch, and with it being more than 50 years since NASA has sent humans to the moon, you can bet they want pretty perfect conditions. So let's take a walk down memory lane. The last time NASA sent a crewed flight to the moon was during the Apollo program. Those missions didn't just take us to the moon, though. They reshaped NASA's weather rules. Apollo 11, the big one, when American astronauts first walked on the moon, had near perfect conditions, rules for thunderstorms and lightning. There were several more Apollo missions after that. All launches were generally under clear, calm conditions. And fast forward 54 years to this week. Well, technology has transformed how NASA handles launch weather. For Artemis 2, NASA will use Doppler radar to measure winds continuously, even predicting gusts before they come. They'll also have electric field sensors to predict lightning and space radiation monitoring to keep those astronauts safe out there. And as we get closer to that launch day, it's worth noting that roughly about a third of NASA launches from both the Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral are delayed because of weather conditions. So we'll cross our fingers. Back to you.
Yeah, good call. Cross our fingers. So coming up at 8:30 today, the launch weather update is actually going to be updated today. So we'll get another update from them. And then at 1 o'clock, we got something else coming up. We've got the countdown status, press conference to give us some more information. To scan or to get some live updates, rather, you have a QR code on your screen right there. You can scan that to get some of those updates. Pretty impressive and exciting.
It is going to be a very exciting day tomorrow. In Fox Weather, we've got you covered every step of the way. Even if it doesn't involve weather, we're keeping you updated.
That's right.
When it comes to Artemis 2.
It is our strong hope that this mission is the start of an era where everyone, every person on Earth can look at the moon and think of it as also a destination.
Wow. The moon being a destination for someone like you and me, Craig.
We could live there one day.
Wouldn't that be incredible?
Yeah.
That was from Artemis astronaut Christina Cook, and she's saying she and her team hope to make space travel an attainable goal for young scientists and explorers around the world. And in my head, I'm imagining a live shot from the moon.
Oh, that would
Could that not be amazing?
Yeah, take the Fox weather flag.
Well, yes, we have to plant that on, the moon, and we got to take Sunny with us.
Yes.
We are just a day away from this planned launch, so we figured we have to check in on the forecast, because this really is the crucial ingredient on if they will or will not be able to launch on April Fool's Day. So if you see a rocket in the air, this is not a joke, okay? The precipitation impact is there, and even just a small margin with the chance of some rain showers is enough to postpone or delay the launch. Now, it's a launch window. It doesn't have to happen exactly at 6:24 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. They can fudge it a little bit based upon what the weather's doing. For right now, though, the winds are not going to be a big factor. Mostly cloudy skies, not necessarily ideal. They opt for more partly cloudy as opposed to extra clouds in that forecast. But overall, we're giving that launch probability an 80%, which is a passing grade. So I'll take it for now. The Kennedy Space Center, this is just some of the criteria that they look for, whether they will or will not be all systems go. The temperature has to be within this 38 to 94.5 degree range. If it's too hot, we have problems with the rocket. Too cold, similar problems. Winds cannot exceed 33 miles per hour. No rain, no lightning, and no thick clouds. So we'll be keeping you updated every step of the way.
Well, severe storms and heavy rain, they are rolling through portions of the Great Lakes, and
we're listening in there to Fox Weather. I just wanted to take them briefly as they provided a bit of a forecast there for the Artemis 2 launch that is happening tomorrow. It's going to be very historic. And remember that you can stream Fox Weather. They are severe weather headquarters, always on, always free. Just head to foxweather.tv. Speaking of that forecast, we are going to get one updated from NASA and several of the meteorologists that are tracking it later on today. We will carry it live for you here at Live Now from Fox, as once again, we take a live look here at the Kennedy Space Center. Let's stay with some more of those updates regarding Artemis 2 and its mission to the moon. Just yesterday, we heard from that 4 crew member team that's going to be headed there on this really special mission. And I do want to play out some of those comments that they made during a press conference. Let's listen in.
By our Associate Administrator, Amit Shathria, Charlie Blackwell-Thompson, Launch Director, John Honeycutt, Chair of the Artemis 2 Mission Management Team, and Emily Nelson, Chief Flight Director. We'll be taking questions shortly from media here in the room and through our phone bridge, but before we get started, we will kick it off with some opening remarks from our panel. Amit.
Afternoon. Let's see, we just wrapped up our L-2 mission management team review, and the team pulled go to proceed towards the planned April 1st launch attempt. The MMT walked through the usual readiness items, vehicle status, ground systems, flight hardware, and the integrated launch operations timeline. We also reviewed the most recent engineering assessments, program level preparedness, and any open items from early reviews, in particular the agency FRR. After thoroughly walking through each of these areas, the team concluded that everything continues to look good, and there are no issues preventing us from pressing ahead at this point. As we enter the pre-launch phase, the teams are in a strong posture, and the mission remains on track. Over the last 10 weeks, the agency has prepared a crewed lunar test vehicle for flight and also restructured the program that it belongs to. This was done deliberately. A crew that understands the campaign flies with greater purpose. A workforce that sees the road ahead holds a higher standard. This flight and the future reinforce each other. This is how Apollo worked, and this is how we will work. Through all of it, the signal of truth and rigor came through clean from the teams working on the machine to the decision makers. Nobody lost focus. Nobody cut a corner. The people in this room and in the control rooms and on the pad and at every center across the agency, you are all instrumental. The skills that you carry, the judgment you have built, the knowledge you hold, these are the things that are in the lifeblood of the agency. This mission is going to fly on Wednesday because you are here. As I said, the vehicle's ready, the system is ready, the crew is ready, and behind this flight stands a campaign. Landings, a lunar base, a nuclear propulsion into deep space, that begins, not ends, with what happens on Wednesday evening. I have complete confidence in this team and the NASA workforce. For everybody else, 53 years ago, humanity left the moon and did not return. Now we go back. The great challenges of the last century will run not in the command centers alone, but in our factories, where the industrial might of free nations built the instruments of progress. This challenge of expanding the frontier will be won the same way, by the craftsmen, the engineers, and the industries of free nations building together what no nation can build alone. And for all the children watching that are going to watch Artemis 2, you need to hear us. An optimistic vision of the future is not naive. It is buildable. So when you watch Artemis 2, think about it. When it lands, come and build it with us. With that, I'll hand it over to the launch director.
Thanks, Amit. Appreciate that. It is really good to be here in the room with you today. And I think I said this when we came over for Wet Dress. I said I really enjoy being here because generally it's something big is getting ready to happen. So thanks for all of you for being here today, and thanks for coming along with us on this journey and helping to tell our story. I am thrilled to say that our countdown clock picked up just a little bit ago and began counting at 4:44 p.m. So while many of us have felt for the last several days and weeks and even months that we have a countdown clock and we were moving toward a targeted launch date, now the countdown clock shows that, and we are just about 2 days away from our targeted launch date. Our team has worked extremely hard to get us to this moment, and I am so very proud of the work that they have done. When we went through Wet Dress, the rollback, turning the vehicle around, getting back out to the pad, and then performing to plan, and really being ahead of plan as we rolled into this weekend. I think Sean mentioned yesterday that we rolled back out on the 20th. And since we've been back out at the pad over these last 10 or so days, we've got all of our planned work is complete. Launch countdown preps are complete. We had all of them essentially done on Saturday. Emergency egress system is configured, ready to go. Crew access arm configured. We are now into, like I said, our launch countdown operations. So we'll power up Orion a little bit later this evening, and then core stage a little bit later after that, and then ICPS will follow. We'll begin the configurations of the vehicle, the checkouts that we do prior to getting deeper into our countdown, and all of this will take us over the next day or so. We do have our air to GN2 changeover will happen early in the morning on the 1st, and as you know, that kind of sets the pace for when we can tank the vehicle.
We're listening in here to this update that we had just yesterday. NASA set for its historic Artemis 2 moon launch that is happening tomorrow. We're going to step away for a quick commercial break, but we are not done with this story just yet. A lot of excitement to watch this launch, and it's also causing an impact when it comes to tourism down in Florida. We'll have more details coming up. Taking a live look right now at Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where tomorrow Artemis 2 is set to launch 4 astronauts to orbit near the moon. But there's a lot of excitement here on the ground as well. Thousands of people already trying to stake out their spots there for the launch. Fox 35's Amanda Ruiz is at Kennedy Space Center there with more details. Amanda, are people already showing up for real?
Good morning, Corel. That is right. There are a bunch of space fans that are here a day early, and they are ready to witness history. I mean, you could feel the excitement in the air. I mean, most of them aren't awake yet, but very much excitement going on. Everyone knows what's happening tomorrow. And let me tell you, we're not talking about a small crowd. We are talking about record-breaking crowds here in Brevard County. That is what leaders are expecting. And we're told this surge could help shatter tourism tax records for the year. It could also be a record week for hotels. Most beachfront hotels have already been booked out. Now, currently the launch is set for tomorrow at 6:24 p.m. But if you're hoping for a spot, you'll have to start planning those plans now, because a lot of the top viewing spots, like Jetty Park, where I'm at right now, they are already sold out for the day. But even if you're not close enough to the launch site, don't worry, you'll still be able to hear it. The sound of the shuttle will travel as much as 40 miles inland, and currently the conditions are all about 80% a go. Now, if there's a scrub, there's a backup plan for days to run through Monday, but right now those fans are banking on tomorrow night.
It's just so cool to watch them fly up in the sky.
This is exciting. It's something very few people get to really see in person, and I think it's going to be big.
Very big indeed. Very exciting time. Now, again, the launch happens tomorrow at 6:24 p.m. Make sure you're tuning in. Even if you're watching on your TV, that's fine. But people are out here and they're ready to see it with their own eyes, to witness history for themselves. For now, reporting on the Space Coast, Amanda Ruiz, Fox 35 News.
All right, Amanda, but before I let you go, I do have to ask. I had a poll question on earlier today. I asked viewers if they would actually take a commercial flight to the moon. Would you?
Honestly, I thought about this myself, because we've been asking people out here and they've been saying no, but I would do it. I don't see anything wrong with going to the moon. I think that's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing to do, and I'd check it off my bucket list. What about you, Corel? Would you do it?
You know, I don't know. Maybe after more testing. That was one of the options that we had. Yes, no, after more testing. But you know what? You're braver than most of the team here at Live Now, because everyone in this room had said no. So, Amanda.
Well, as usual, my one faithful viewer is with me. How you doing, buddy? I don't think you've ever sent anything in the chat. You have just remained silent. Are you embarrassed of me? Oh man. So, kind of a day are we gonna have today, baby? I'm very curious to see how the day unfolds, and whether or not we're going to get anything interesting out of the day. Because, you know, if I'm being totally honest, these last few days have been pretty fucking boring. It's been pretty damn boring. Yesterday, right before, let's see, right before the market closed at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock. Yeah, it closed right at 5 o'clock. It was closed from 5 until 6. And it was right in here, actually. Yeah, it was, well, I think it was like right here, actually, is when I sold out of my oil future, which, you know, I think is pretty good. Had I let it ride, it would have been a whole $16 more if I had nailed the top. Which I'm fine with that, because look where it is now. Ouch. I would just now be like, oh, $20 up. Which I am still I still am ahead of where I'd still be waiting to profit better than I did than when I sold. Now, granted, I only made about $25, but you know what? When all you're playing with is this small amount right here, that $20, shit, man, that was almost, it was a 20% win. So, yeah, but I had to sell out of it because I'm going to need money in 2 days, and that's all the money I've got in the world. So, yeah, it takes 2 days for that shit to come available, so I had to sell out of it. Watch it fly up today. That will figure. All right, we are waiting on pre-market. Obviously, it's not open quite yet. Bitcoin is looking a little sideways over the last hour, but these moves take time because of the last 4 hours. It's a little down. Oh, dollar took a dive of a whole 28 cents. This looks worse than it is. But that 28 cents caused silver to run up almost $1. And gold to run up almost $50. Funny how those things work. Bitcoin's struggling, isn't it? Now, I said a few days ago that I did believe Bitcoin was going to come down to the 50s. I have since reconsidered my position, and I do believe it may come down to the 40s. Keyword there, may. That being said, I'm pretty convinced it will at least come down to the 50s. All right, so what are we waiting on with Fox? Are we waiting on, is somebody getting ready to speak? Let's see what Newsmax is
penalty
saying.
And because the bullet casing is just a little bit maybe.
Oh yeah, y'all heard this new information that came out that the bullet that killed Charlie Kirk may not have been from the shooter's gun. Very interesting. It's still alleged so far. I'm seeing a bunch of shit on social media saying that, talking about it as if it's already been determined. It's alleged so far. Don't jump to this quite yet. It very well may turn out to be true, but just stay within the parameters of facts, shall we?
The firing of that at Charlie Kirk, which apparently, again, according to the ADF, did not propel the bullet that killed him, itself is a crime, so he could still be prosecuted for that. It would be attempted murder at the highest end of the spectrum, the improper use of a firearm at the lowest end, so I don't think he's going to walk out of jail. But he won't be facing murder charges of Charlie Kirk, and he certainly won't be facing the death penalty, and he probably won't be facing life in prison. But then the government is back at square one. Who killed Charlie Kirk?
Right. I think it is important to note here, though, it's not that the bullet just definitively does not match this gun. It's that they cannot definitively say that it does. I think there's a big difference there.
Well, they have to be able to say it definitively because the standard of proof in a criminal case is beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty. You must prove every element of the crime. One of the elements of the crime is that the bullet came from this gun.
Before we let you go, Judge, what would you say if you were using this case to teach, let's say, law students? What point would you want them to take away from this case so far?
I would want them to understand, another interesting question, I would want them to understand the value of being meticulous, of scrutinizing all of the evidence, and of being honest and fair. Look, there are prosecutors in this country who would have buried that report so the defense didn't see it. Yep. So these prosecutors are scrupulously honest for revealing this, and my hat is off to them. So don't miss any details and be scrupulously honest. That's the message to law students.
So true. And our judicial system might frustrate us at times, but it's the best system on earth. Judge Napolitano, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure, guys.
Thanks, Judge.
You got it. Stay tuned. A tragedy in Wisconsin after a woman is gunned down in cold blood. Some are calling it politically motivated.
Our crime correspondent, Jason Matera, he has that story.
Yeah, man, if this turns out to be true in the Charlie Kirk thing, man, that just adds another layer of confusion to everything, doesn't it? Honestly, I feel like it fucking figures. Maybe old Candace Owens is right, huh? I don't want to admit that if it's true. Because, honestly, I just don't like the bitch. I think she jumps to a lot of conclusions. That doesn't mean she's wrong. So, I'm keeping my own biases in check here. In real time, you're seeing. So, I can take in new information. Can you?
Census for collective action, the consequences will be catastrophic for a generation or more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philippe. Thank you so much for these introductory remarks. And before I open the floor to questions, I'd like to also introduce Christelle Younes, who is the new, not so new anymore, director of the UNRWA office here in Geneva, an office which has been opened recently so that you meet Christelle, and she will be there also to answer your questions and support your work. So I'll open the floor to questions now. Who would like to start? Let me see any hands. I am looking. Yes, let's start with Paula, Geneva Solutions.
Good morning. I had a question about the future of UNRWA itself. It was created as a temporary agency initially. I'm just wondering if the mandate itself of UNRWA should potentially change, since we're getting to sort of what you yourself has described potentially a collapse. Is there, do you think that perhaps there may be more of a future if UNRWA becomes potentially a development agency as opposed to providing for just the Palestinian refugees?
Thank you. I think on the way forward, I have been quite explicit recently again with the member states and in my letter to the GA, where basically I'm calling for the agency to retrieve its temporary nature and to be part of the solution within a political process. I have requested that the agency, I would say, workforce expertise, community trust, be considered as an asset for the implementation of Resolution 2803, that we safeguard the operational space, that critical services continue to be delivered, while at the same time, the agency would also be involved in building the future Palestinian institution, which at the end of a political process would become, in fact, the recipient of the agency activities. I don't think that the solution in the future is to create another agency or development agency. By the way, UNRWA is primarily focusing on the human development of the Palestinian refugees, and otherwise, within the broader UN system, we have, in fact, UNDP, for example, as a key development UN agencies. So what?
All right, wanted to bring you some of those remarks from a bit earlier on this morning. We were not able to play those out for you, so wanted to do that right here as we await this news conference with the Pentagon. My name is Josh Breslow. I'll be here for the next several hours as we break down all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. My colleague
dead at the scene. The accused killer, Diamond Wallace, who also went by Saint Laurel Vargas, wasn't a total stranger. She apparently worked at the same hotel as the victim, but was fired last year. Yet this attack doesn't appear to be simply a workplace grudge, but a political targeting as well. According to the criminal complaint, Diamond Wallace had expressed animosity towards Jones because she was a Trump supporter. Court records also indicate that Jones had a Trump hat visible in her vehicle, something police had discovered after her body was found. Now, this shooting is at the center of a larger debate over left-wing political violence. The Dane County GOP says city leaders there have turned Madison, Wisconsin into a hostile place for anyone who doesn't fall in line with leftist orthodoxy.
There's a fair amount of political violence that has taken place here. A lot of our people are very scared of what's going on in Dane County and in Madison. And we don't hold events in downtown Madison for this precise reason. And you never know what's going to happen. To say that they're scared is an understatement.
Yeah, I'll say.
Now, what makes this alleged murder even worse is that Diamond Wallace, or St. Laurel Vargas, whatever her name is, wasn't even supposed to have a gun. She's apparently a convicted felon. Yet somehow police say she got her hands on the .380 and allegedly used it to execute a former coworker, a woman that she reportedly despised for supporting Donald Trump. And the coverage of this attack, aside from a few local outlets, has been practically non-existent. I wonder why. Christina, John?
I don't know if I buy that.
That's great reporting as usual.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know if I buy that narrative that we just heard, because it just so happens there was a Donald Trump hat in the car. I mean, it would add up, right? But she wasn't able to have a gun to begin with. I mean, if I'm just throwing a hypothetical out there, I could be way off, all right? But you have to play both sides of the thing here, And the first thing that pops into my mind is if you were trying to set up a narrative in a story, wouldn't you throw a hat in there just to if you wanted to make it seem that way? Like I said, I could be way off. I could be totally wrong on that. It's just I have a suspicious nature. I think about the what ifs instead of jumping to conclusions like most people do these days. It's probably a reasonable conclusion to draw that I'm talking against here. Let me be completely straight with that, okay? I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm inclined to question those things at first rather than just jump on them. You know what I mean? Because we've got enough of that in the world already. Anyway, that's all I got on that one. What are we waiting on over here?
What peace could look like, but it'll also be like, and I'm ready to go up the escalation ladder if you guys aren't ready for this. And he's deployed some Marines to the region. He's been talking about, and the administration have been mentioning and hinting at the potential for taking Karg Island, which could be.
Are we waiting on Trump to speak or something?
Military campaign. And also there was that huge strike on Isfahan that you showed clips of earlier just now, Josh. So those are three things that I'm super interested to hear more about.
And of course, as I mentioned, this is going to start any moment now. I did want to ask you a little bit about some of those illustrations from the Israel Defense Forces. Again, this is from really just hours ago over there in Tehran. Can you explain to me the significance of Israel continuing those strikes against Iran at this point? Because it appears that there's no letting up. Israel is fighting Hezbollah over in Lebanon, but also continuing to strike Iran alongside the U.S.
Good. Don't
That's
let
right.
up.
This is at least a two-front war. Of course, Israel is also dealing with the Houthis, who decided to get into the fight. Apparently, they look like they just were a one and done. They haven't done anything since they're.
Bro, the Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas, they're all just proxies for Iran and their ridiculous ideologies. If you're new here, then you should understand what these maniacs are all about. And the current leadership, the Islamic Republic of Iran, they are fueled by what they believe to be prophecy, and that their prophet won't come back until they destroy Israel. And every single thing they do takes that central idea and fuels everything. That's why they've paid for what people refer to as terrorist groups. This is what they mean when they say they fund terrorism around the world. Yes, those proxy groups, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, they're all on Iran's payroll, and they're the most extreme ideologues out of them all. But this is the problem with the poisonous nature of religion in government, right? I mean, this is just, you know, they're 500 years behind Christianity, so they're currently in their crusades, right? Killing people for your religion. Like, how do you marry those two things? How do you justify that? God wants you to kill. That is the biggest oxymoron in the world. And of course, it's cavemen who believe it. It's just unfathomable to me how anybody can go down that route. How anybody can allow such nonsense to creep into their mind. Yeah, you know, I get that it takes generations and it takes, you know, growing up under these ridiculous ideas. I mean, it doesn't take it, but that's the result of it. You know, it's so insane to me. And it's horrible, obviously. It's just horrible. I mean, you know, these maniacs over there enlist children. Speaking of children, they took, forget the number, it's in the thousands of kids and hung them by cranes 6 at a time for days. For days. Their own people, mind you. For that alone, the Islamic Republic needs to die. Sorry, not sorry. They need to die. Put every other reason for this war aside. That one reason is good enough for me.
The domestic attitude towards the war, how long can he deal with the increased gas prices? How long can he deal with the dent to the economy? So it's a battle of wills, but also there's another finite resource in this fight, which is how many more missiles does Iran have? How many more interceptors do Israel and the Gulf states have? So we're dealing with a series of finite resources, whether it's willpower, missiles, interceptors, and we just have to see who blinks first, Josh.
Yep.
Something else that's important to note here as we await this news conference is that the Associated Press is saying that some of the Gulf Arab nations, let's talk about Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, also the UAE, are privately urging President Trump to continue the operation against Iran to weaken the Iranian regime even further. How significant is that overall?
Weaken my ass.
It's hugely significant, Josh, for a couple of reasons. First of all, because they're the hardest hit. If you look at the numbers, Israel's definitely at the center of this, and Israel's been side by side with the U.S. on attacking Iran. But as far as incoming goes, as far as receiving the Iranian missiles and drones, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar to some extent are all on the front line. So the fact that they are determined for the U.S. to continue is huge. The other reason it's really important is because, of course, they are huge energy producers and all have a strategic
sorry to
reserve.
Interrupt, but it looks like Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has just walked in. Thank you again for your time. We definitely appreciate it.
Let's go. Kill them all.
Well, over the weekend, I had the opportunity to visit our troops fighting in Operation Epic Fury. We were on the ground in CENTCOM on Saturday for about half the day. For reasons of operational security, so those troops are not targeted, the places and bases will not be named.
Yeah, duh.
Suffice it to say, the trip was an honor. I had a chance to bear witness, and I witnessed the best of America. I witnessed warriors, a brotherhood of men and women, warriors all.
This guy's a good
active
speaker.
Duty, Guard, and Reserve, united in their love for each other, their shared purpose, and their commitment to the mission. I witnessed sheer competency. I watched a private first class confidently calling out an enemy missile trajectory to a room full of officers. Everyone focused. The room was locked in. 2 enemy missiles successfully shot down. I spoke to Air Force and Navy pilots on the flight line who every day both deliver bombs deep into Iran, but also shoot down drones defending their base. Many had just returned from the skies of Iran and Tehran. I put on a headset and spoke to one crew in the cockpit, locked and loaded, each and every day. I witnessed ingenuity, American ingenuity. I met the young Army officer who figured out how to neutralize maneuvering enemy missiles, saving countless lives.
Yeah.
His commander confirmed that the whoops and cheers erupted in the Tactical Operations Center when his new approach was first successful.
Nice.
I met the Air Force intel analyst who refines target packages faster than the enemy can adapt. I actually gave him my card and told him to keep me posted on the ground truth. I did the same with his boss, a colonel with a heart the size of Texas and a beautiful deployment mustache to match. I witnessed lethality. I met a junior airman as the sun was going down and a chill was setting on the tarmac, who, when asked what they needed, she simply looked up at me with a sly smile on her face and said, "More bombs, sir, and bigger bombs."
Yeah. How about
we
the
will
biggest?
Happily oblige her.
Yeah, how about we turn these
I met
fucks
the
into
Army
glass?
targeting team who found and sunk
Tired
the
of this
pride
shit.
and joy of the Iranian Navy. Their fighting position plastered with images of sunken enemy ships. And I witnessed urgency. Right when we landed, another C-17 landed just minutes after us. And within 30 seconds of the aircraft coming to a full stop, a team on the ground pulled up and the cargo was being uploaded. Wartime speed. To a man and to a woman, on the ground, in the air, on the flight line, and in the TOC, I heard, "We want everything faster, higher op tempo,
Don't we all?
wartime speed."
Yeah, baby.
The feeling was the exact opposite of the rotational units year after year in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan that we're so familiar with. In those wars, it was always about the next rotation, never knowing when the mission would end or exactly what the mission was, year after year. Not with Epic Fury. I witnessed urgency to finish the job, urgency to achieve mission success, not looking at the next rotation, only moving as fast as possible to win.
Yeah.
I got a chance to troop the line,
Look, we don't want
to
let
witness
these
firsthand
fuckers
what
get an upper
we
hand
already
at
know
all.
is true. Spoke to all ranks and all services, none of whom knew we were coming. It was not rehearsed or scripted. Sometimes we just wandered. What I witnessed was motivation. It was sheer mission focus. It was the American warrior unleashed. It was the kind of warfighting American spirit that comes with a clear mission against a determined enemy. A crew chief we flew with summed it up nicely. He said, "It's been a busy few weeks, sir. Tough stuff. But I'm so honored to be called up. This fight is long overdue. We need to address it for our kids. We cannot pass the buck. Please thank the president from us." I heard that time and time again. I asked each young American, "What do you need?" And nobody said better equipment. Nobody said more comfortable living conditions. Nobody said send me home. Well, of course, eventually we want all those things. They do too. But what those Americans said to me, young and old, officer and NCO, male and female, black and white, was, "Let's finish the mission."
Damn right.
Get us even more bombs, bigger bombs, more targets. Let us finish this. In fact, Admiral Cooper noted this morning that the 3 Air Force captains shot down by Kuwaiti-friendly fire early in the fight, weeks ago. They never left the theater. All dropped bombs over Tehran last night. These men and women live the Iranian threat every day, incoming missiles and drones, and know what a world looks like, what the world would look like if Iran had the most dangerous weapons in the world, a nuclear weapon. As President Trump has said time and time again for years, and in this administration, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb, and they won't. These troops, they want to finish this fight for their kids and their grandkids. This is about history. This is about legacy. Success matters. And because of this president and these Americans, we're closer than ever before to winning. President Trump is doing what no other president had the guts to do. Previous presidents were all talk. He's all action. On the battlefield, because of the latitude the president has given us, American firepower is only increasing. Iran's decreasing. We have more and more options, and they have less. Just 1 month in, only 1 month, we set the terms. The upcoming days will be decisive. Iran knows that, and there's almost nothing they can militarily do about it. Yes, they will still shoot some missiles, but we will shoot them down. Of note, the last 24 hours saw the lowest number of enemy missiles and drones fired by Iran. They will go underground, but we will find them. We recently destroyed another one of their command bunkers. Leaders forced to flee. No water, no power, no oxygen, no command and control. Their faith in their caves diminishing. The latest intel is clear out of CENTCOM. Our strikes are damaging the morale of the Iranian military, leading to widespread desertions, key personnel shortages, and causing frustrations amongst senior leaders. Just last night, we had
Such a shame he has to say that.
the video the president posted
People are
last night
stupid.
of Esfahan, an ammo depot struck by U.S. bombers. You see, you don't get to see many of those videos because, as a reminder, Iran has still shut off the internet to 99.9% of its population. But if Iran is wise, they will cut a deal. President Trump doesn't bluff and he does not back down. You can ask Khomeini about that. The new Iranian regime should know that by now. This new regime, because regime change has occurred, should be wiser than the last.
Yeah, should be.
President Trump will make a deal. He is willing. And the terms of the deal are known to them. If Iran is not willing, then the United States War Department will continue with even more intensity.
Good.
Standing here this morning in this briefing room, in my mind's eye, I'm actually looking out at the groups I met this weekend. The pilots, the logisticians, the intel analysts, the targeters, the sustainers, the flight crews, the air defenders, the base security, those maintainers who we walked up at sunset with the chill in the air on the flight line. May God watch over all of them, each day and each night. May his almighty and eternal arms of providence stretch over them and protect them and bring them peace. In the name of Jesus Christ.
Get that
Amen.
religion
Mr.
out of
Chairman.
our government.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone, and thank you again for being here. As operations continue, I remain deeply grateful for the service and determination.
You know, I find it increasingly difficult I find it increasingly difficult to speak, apparently, to justify the actions of our own military when it comes to what's fueling us. You know, I understand this is a largely Christian country, but at the risk of starting a holy war, we really shouldn't be putting all of this rhetoric into what we're doing. At least, you know, on the table for everybody to see. You know, because look, Islam is not going to stop. When I say Islam, I really mean the Islamic Republic of Iran. And we already know their theocratic nonsense is what's fueling everything. When you're fighting such an evil, and you're clarifying that as one of the ridiculous aspects of things, You can't turn around and do the same thing they're doing. Now, slow down before you jump and say, well, we're not doing the same thing they're doing. They're doing, crazier stuff than we are. Well, yeah. But I just find it mildly hypocritical, especially when I heard that Pete Hegseth was telling the troops that we were lighting the fires of Armageddon so that Jesus could... Bruh, shut up. Shut up with that shit. Shut the fuck up with all theocratic bullshit. Religion has no place in government. And it is the events in the Middle East lately that should be pointed at and scrutinized within those terms. You can't turn around and do the same thing. We're not offing children. We're not, our wars aren't fueled by bullshit like prophecy. We are miles above them. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think in this case fighting fire with fire is a good thing. Going in there and erasing them from history is a much better narrative. I don't like this idea of throwing more ideological nonsense into an already extremely volatile situation. It just doesn't bode well with me. That's just me. I'm entitled to my opinion just as much as the next guy, right? So that's just my opinion. I don't need to debate it with anybody. I'm sure plenty of you disagree with that, and that's fine. That's your right. Yeah. So that's where I stand on that. If you want to just, look at it, if you want to look at it like this, if you throw gas on the fire and start preaching your ideology, what do you think that's going to do to the enemy? It's going to embolden them. It's just going to make them dig their heels in. You know how hard it is to crush an idea? Damn near impossible. And then you turn them into martyrs, which personally, I don't really give a shit about what they think and all that. I don't. I'm arguing a moot point. I understand, but yeah, I just find it slightly hypocritical when we're talking about, when you utter the word theocracy and then you turn around and do and say similar shit. Now, we are not a theocracy, thank God, no pun intended. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents. Take it or leave it. I want to see what this guy's saying.
Continue to prosecute our campaign against our defense industrial base at scale. This includes factories, warehouses, nuclear weapons research and development labs, and the associated infrastructure required for Iran to reconstitute its combat capability. I'd like to continue my theme of highlighting the incredible contributions of Americans to our joint force. Today I want...
Welcome to the new generation of web creation, where words can launch a business.
Bitch-ass commercials.
Or guard posts, but is just as critical to our nation's security, our national assembly lines. Today, I want to recognize a group of Americans who live at the beginning of our nation's combat power, the Americans who actually make our weapons, both inside our defense industrial base, but even more broadly inside our national industrial base. In every military option, we could not and cannot do our jobs without the men and women across our country who show up every day around the clock to a factory floor, a workshop, a laboratory, who build the weapons and capabilities we need to project American combat power at the time and place of our choosing. These great Americans, and I've had a chance to spend some time with them when I was in the private sector, are the core of American combat power. They're the machinists running high-tech CNC machines, cutting raw blocks of metal into incredibly precise parts. They're the assembly workers painstakingly taking a kit of parts and turning that into a complex guidance system or precision munition or a rocket motor or building a jet or submarine. Or they're quality assurance technicians who ensure that when a warfighter pulls a trigger, the weapon works every time. This can be and is tough and gritty work. It's not a quiet office and a desk with paper, and there's nothing wrong with that, but this is exactly the way this group of Americans likes it. I know this. I've seen it myself, and I remain deeply honored by that gift. It's often loud and dangerous work, demanding, requires absolute focus for hours at a time with deep commitment to get it right every single time. It's hands-on work where one uncaught mistake or deviation can put an American's life at risk. A single misplaced wire, a microscopic flaw in a weld, incorrectly calibrated sensor could mean the difference between mission success or mission failure. The difference is measured in the lives of our sons and daughters who we put out around the field and on the field of battle. We rely on and trust in these great Americans, and it's not just their manufacturing skill, it's their innovative minds and their entrepreneurial spirit. From those who build exquisite capabilities down to the mom and pop machine shops all over this great country, they live at the beginning of and the core of America's combat capability, constantly adapting, constantly improving, constantly learning. And there are examples of this throughout history and current days, to include building things like the F-117 stealth fighter, the B-2 stealth bomber, making our combat capability undetectable over the enemy, to today's B-21 and F-47. It's work like in the shipyards of the East Coast and Northeast side of the United States that go out and build America's nuclear submarines that allow us to patrol around the world at the time and place of our choosing. These innovators, these workers, these incredible Americans don't get the same glory as a fighter pilot returning to a carrier deck at night or an artilleryman sending rounds downrange, and yet they show up every single day, and without them, we could not do the work that we are tasked to do. 24/7, they build the tools that we need to do our business. The skill, the commitment, the patriotism, the dedication poured into every piece of combat capability and hardware is seen and felt out at the edge of the force, as the Secretary talked about those young bomb builders out in the desert that he had the chance to see. You can see it, you can feel it, and it's real, and we're deeply grateful. So to the American workforce out there, both inside our defense industrial base and in our national industrial base, thank you on behalf of the Joint Force. We carry the weapons that you build. We rely on the systems that you create, and the distance from that factory floor and that assembly line to the front line is incredibly short. Thank you. Keep it up. And to our adversaries out there, I remind you to beware of the American workforce. We continue to press forward in our military objectives. The Secretary and I remain deeply humbled by the spirit, tenacity, commitment, and grit of our 2.8 million member strong joint force. I want to, as always, thank the force and their families, and as always, remember our fallen. We carry with them and their names every day. Sir, I'll turn it back over to
Absolutely.
you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two things. He didn't note it, but in memory of Colonel Bud Anderson, the chairman himself flew his F-16 to honor him recently. And thank you for highlighting the defense industrial base, the arsenal of freedom. It's worth noting no one has rebuilt that defense industrial base faster and with more purpose than President Trump in his first term. And now we're rebuilding the arsenal of freedom. Our defense industrial base is more vibrant today than it's been since World War II and growing rapidly. Contrast that with Iran, whose defense industrial base is nearly completely destroyed. Their ability to reconstitute the weapons of war they're using now that they're hiding in underground facilities and attriting over time, their ability to rebuild that is negligible. And I think that contrast is an enduring legacy of this as well, right here.
Thank you for your
We've had some signaling that the U.S. will retake control of the Strait of Hormuz. At that point, what military posture will be imposed to guarantee safe passage for our allies, deter our enemies, and demonstrate U.S. dominance in the region? And also, can you speak to how much America's adversaries, Russia, China, North Korea, how much they're supporting Iran's war machine at this point with arms and intelligence, and what we are militarily doing to punish the enemy coalition?
Appreciate both questions. On the Strait of Hormuz, there are many more vessels flowing through today than there were, as the president has arranged. The president's been clear to Iran, open it for business, or we have options, and we certainly do. And when you look at what the chairman laid out with the Navy industrial base, with coastal cruise missiles, with UAVs, with counter-mine capabilities, we've been focused from the beginning on attriting and defeating those capabilities and limiting their options. There's lots we're doing as well, some of which is known, some of which is not known, to set the conditions. And I think the president was clear this morning in his truth that there are countries around the world who ought to be prepared to step up on this critical waterway as well. It's not just the United States Navy. Last time I checked, there was supposed to be a big bad Royal Navy that could be prepared to do things like that as well. So he's pointing out this is an international waterway that we use less than most, in fact, dramatically less than most.
That's
true. So the world ought to pay attention and be prepared to stand up. President Trump's been willing to do the heavy lifting on behalf of the free world to address this threat of Iran. It's not just our problem set going forward, even though we have done the lion's share of preparation to ensure that strait will be open, which is an outcome the president's been very clear on. As far as Russia and China, we know exactly what they're doing, what they are or are not doing. We don't have to air publicly what all of that is, but where necessary, we're addressing it, we're mitigating it, or we're confronting it head on. I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
No, sir. I think you covered it.
Do you have any timeline for operability in the Strait?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. David Zier, Real America's Voice. And I witnessed that enthusiasm on the lines and our submarine builders and ironworks. It's unbelievable. But I just wanted to ask you, what's the status of the delivery of any hardened bunkers for additional protection for our troops? And without getting too specific, what kind of measures are we taking to protect some of the larger, more strategic aircraft like the Sentry and other?
Well, it's a great question. I'll say what I witnessed where I went was a completely locked-in discipline of bunker use and bunker improvement. So from the beginning, as we stated very clearly, the first thing we did was set up a defense and make sure our defensive capabilities were maxed out before any of this even started. That included fortifications as much as possible, but it also included disbursement. If all of our people are in one place, you could imagine why that's a big problem. So dispersing is part of that defeat. Alongside that disbursement is more and more bunkers. And I can tell you, talking to base commanders, talking to our allies in Israel, talking to others, rapidly fielding that and then improving those positions is a theater priority, no doubt, as are the air defenses and the layered air defenses. It's not just Patriots and THAADs, it's fighters and defensive caps, it's other kinetic defeat systems, it's electronic warfare. So the defense of our troops and our assets is max. I will say on some of those other assets you talked about, air wings, airframes, there's some things adversaries are doing to provide info and intel that they shouldn't. We're aware of it. And ultimately, we move things around and don't. One of the biggest principles you learn in the military is to not set patterns, predictable patterns. And so commanders are working hard to adjust in real time with those systems and make sure they're in the right places and not easily targetable. Jillian.
Thanks, Mr. Secretary. The U.S. and Iran appear right now publicly to disagree about whether there are these negotiations ongoing. What impact does that have on military strategy? Does it have any bearing at all? And General, the president wrote yesterday that the U.S. might destroy Iran's electricity generating plants and oil wells.
Good.
Those are his words before ending this operation. Is there a way to do either of those things without seriously jeopardizing or seriously harming civilians?
So on the talks, I can tell you, having been with Steve and Jared and the vice president and Marco and many others yesterday, they are very real. They are ongoing. They're active and I think gaining strength. And we appreciate that. As I said in my remarks, we would much prefer to get a deal. If Iran was willing to relinquish material they have and ambitions they have, open this. Great. That's the goal. We don't want to have to do more militarily than we have to. But I didn't mean it flippantly when I said, in the meantime, we'll negotiate with bombs. Our job is to ensure that we compel Iran to realize that this new regime, this regime in charge, is in a better place if they make that deal. And so we'll continue. We're working hand in hand, but the primary effort is a deal. We want that deal to be accomplished if at all possible. If not, then we're prepared to continue.
Secretary, what happened at
Go ahead,
Cashapp?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. We're always thinking about those considerations and develop options to be able to mitigate those risks pursuant to the normal practices that we do in the military. So.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I know you slightly addressed this already, but just on the Strait of Hormuz, is opening the strait an essential objective to Operation Epic Fury, or is that the job of those other countries? And then secondly, without asking you to comment on things that you can't talk about, what is your message to Americans who love the president and strongly believe in him, but are very worried about this notion of boots on the ground?
Well, first on the Strait of Hormuz, our core objectives from this podium, from day one, from me, from the chairman, from the president, from the vice president, from Secretary Rubio and others have been clear. Defense missile production and missile programs, so their entire missile program, defense industrial base and production ability to build.
What are you doing?
And Navy and power projection. So those have, and then of course, wrapping it all is Iran's never going to have a nuclear weapon. So those have been very clear. Defeating the Navy is a core part of ensuring they can't project that kind of power. But ultimately, I think the president's truth this morning lays that out very well, that this Strait of Hormuz issue, which we've set the conditions for success, and we will make sure Iran knows that very clearly, is not just a United States of America problem set. We've been willing to lead. President Trump's led the entire time, but it's not just us. So ultimately, I think other countries should pay attention when the president speaks. He's proven that when he speaks, he means something. And he's pointing out, you might want to start learning how to fight for yourself. It's something some of us have been saying for quite some time. You can't just have flags, you have to have formations. You can't just have a few ships, you have enough to affect change. Those things matter in a dangerous world.
This ready-to-run scanner from Massive strings every U.S. options trade in real time using Massive's Options Trades WebSocket channel.
I am sorry about the dumbass technical difficulties that I've been having. It's been aggravating the shit out of me, so I do apologize. Hopefully, I just fixed it. Anyway, back to what we were doing before we were so rudely interrupted.
Very clear about that from the podium. Yes.
Thank you, Secretary Hexeth. A question for you and then a question for General Kane. You said we're a month into the Operation Epic Fury. How long until the objectives are achieved? And is there a scenario where a deal is struck before the objectives have been achieved? And then for General Kane, there's been lots of media coverage that suggested a ground invasion is imminent. What other purposes might the soldiers and the Marines who have been deployed over to the Middle East serve in this conflict?
Well, just like the previous question, it's sort of military 101. Don't tell your enemy what you're willing to do or not do, and don't tell your enemy when you're willing to stop, especially an enemy that likes to hide in bunkers and try to hoard their missiles and hope you'll wait you out. So that's not a question I'm going to answer, or the president has said definitively. We have our own goals and guidance and things military objectives that we're moving toward and things that we look at. And as he's articulated, he's said 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, 3. It could be any particular number, but we would never reveal precisely what it is, because our goal is to finish those objectives. And we're well on our way, and the chairman and I look at this every single day. It will be the president's determination and the president's determination alone when those objectives are complete and when it serves the interest of the American people to cut that deal.
Idiots on
social
social media.
Iran doesn't have a nuclear capability, and
With
ultimately
their
that our
taco and all
objectives,
this bullshit,
our interests,
jumping
are
and
advanced. I don't know if
latching on to every
just
little
to
thing.
answer your question, Reagan, the range of military options that those forces can offer are extensive, not just limited to what you mentioned in terms of forces on the ground. And I wouldn't want to take away the president's decision space, but there are a multitude of things, not the least of which is Iran should know note that they're out there and that they are a pressure point, and so they should carefully consider, I think, at the diplomatic level, not my job as a chairman, but at the diplomatic level, to consider what's in front of them.
Jerry.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, the U.S. government and IC assessed for many years that Iran is protecting al-Qaeda senior leaders, including the current Emir Saif al-Idil. Does the U.S. assess that he's still in Iran? Has he fled to Afghanistan? Is he on a target list? And Mr. Chairman, based on CENTCOM figures and open source, Iranian daily missile barrages and drone launches have indeed dropped dramatically since the start of the war, but they're not at zero. And they seem to have maintained some level of low but stable numbers. Perhaps they've dropped a little bit more in recent days. How do we get that closer to zero? And what impact is Iran's degraded but still very real capability impacting current and future operations?
So I won't speak to a particular target. I'll just say that al-Qaeda remains our enemy, obviously. And there are a lot of people on our target list in Iran. And if they were to be harboring al-Qaeda, they would certainly fit that list.
Just quickly.
Are you looking to establish your business using an address?
No, but I'm
other
looking
than
for
your
your
home?
commercials to
Well,
off.
iPostal.
Talked about the 200 hits that were done last night. That's one component of continuing to lower that. The second and more long-term impact that we're having is the strikes against their defense industrial base at scale, which will not allow them to reload after that. So we do continue to see it trend down. They are still shooting, and we do continue to exert significant pressure against both sides of that system.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for the question. Do you still believe, you said previously that the Iranian leadership would surrender? Do you still believe that? And is the United States still committed to NATO's collective defense? And to Chairman King, could you give us a sense of your thinking about the legality of striking desalinization plants if the president were to order that?
I will just say that willing to do for the United States of America when we undertake an effort of this scope on behalf of the free world. These are missiles that don't even range the United States of America. They range allies and others, and yet when we ask for additional assistance or simple access basing overflight, we get questions or roadblocks or hesitations. And the president's pointing out, you don't have much of an alliance if you have countries that are not willing to stand with you when you need them. He's simply pointing that out. And ultimately, it'll be his decision of what that looks like after this is complete.
I'll just won't talk about any particular target. This really builds on Jillian's question, too, that I don't think I completely answered. But, you know, the Joint Force is the most professional force in the world, and we have numerous processes and systems to carefully consider the whole range of considerations.
I'm going to step out for a smoke, but I'm going to leave this up, and I'm going to watch it on my phone, so I'm still here. Shit. Wrong button.
Process that we always do, and always strike lawful targets in accordance with the normal procedures that we use.
Chairman King, no quarter, no mercy for enemy combatants. As ISAF has said.
For me?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you. I appreciate it. On Sunday, President Trump said that Iran's first regime was all destroyed and the second one is mostly dead. And the third regime that we're on right now has been much more reasonable in negotiations. Do you agree with that assessment, and why?
I would defer to the negotiating team there. They're the ones talking to him, but they're getting a back and forth on terms, which is a productive development. We stand right there next to our negotiating team, always willing and prepared to put them in an even better position. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, there you have it. That was an update with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, as well as General Dan Raisin Kane, the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the first one they've held in a little over a week, about Operation Epic Fury. It is now 8:40 on the East Coast and 5:40 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and we are going to sneak away for a quick 2-minute commercial break, but a lot more live coverage coming up on this Tuesday morning. Stay with us here on Live Now from Fox. Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. It is 8:43 on the East Coast and 5:43 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow. I'll be here with you for the next several hours as we break down all of your top stories, live events, and breaking news from across the country and the world. Right now, I do want to get to the latest here on Operation Epic Fury as we continue to cover everything. Of course, just bringing you that news conference with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, as well as General Dan Raisin Kane, the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Now, we know that the U.S. and Israel continue to strike Iran with constant strikes, and just this morning, you heard General Kane talk a little bit about this, but President Trump shared this video here on Truth Social showing a massive explosion. Now, he did not include a comment with that footage, but we also heard Secretary Hegseth say that it was a major strike right outside the Iranian city of Isfahan. According to the Associated Press, NASA fire tracking satellite suggests that the explosions happened near an area believed to have military positions. As of now, Iran has not acknowledged that attack. We could expect a statement possibly later on today. Isfahan is home to one of 3 uranium enrichment sites bombed by the U.S. in the 12-day war between Iran and Israel that was back in June of last year. Also today, the United Arab Emirates says all 24 crew members are safe after an Iranian strike on a tanker from Kuwait. Now, all of this happened over in Dubai waters, and also in an attack on Dubai. Debris from an interception fell on homes there, wounding a total of 4 people. We have not received an update, though, on the severity of the injuries. Now, the UAE Defense Ministry says it's been actively engaging missiles and drones as sirens sound in Israel amid more attacks from Iran and, of course, the Iran-backed Hezbollah terror group. Now, we do have this graphic right here that I want to pop up for you on your screen. This is coming in from the Israel Defense Forces as they say they struck more areas of Tehran a bit earlier on this morning, striking some of those production sites in that area. And you can see they pop this up on your screen. They're talking about an anti-tank, small anti-aircraft missile, an additional weapons production, research, and development site, a site that was used for casting and filling ballistic missile warheads with explosive material, as well as other locations. This, again, an illustration that was provided just a bit earlier to our newsroom here by those officials with the IDF. And I want to pop this up on your screen right here. This is a live look over Beirut. Now, a bit earlier, we actually saw some smoke rising as, again, Israel is continuing those strikes on the Iran-backed Hezbollah terror group in that area. Again, a lot of different updates that are coming into our newsroom, and we are following all of them. I want to pop this up on your screen. This is coming in from the Secretary of War during that news conference as he revealed kind of a covert visit over to the troops. Now, he said, quote, "Over the weekend, I had the opportunity to visit our troops fighting in Operation Epic Fury. We were on the ground in CENTCOM on Saturday for about half the day. For reasons of operational security, so those troops are not targeted, the places and bases will not be named. Suffice it to say, the trip was an honor. I had a chance to bear witness, and I witnessed the best of America. I witnessed warriors, a brotherhood of men and women, warriors all. Active duty, guard, and reserve, united in their love for each other, their shared purpose, and their commitment to the mission." Again, that was part of the news conference here that we just brought you with the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and General Dan Raisin Kane. Right now, also want to let you know that over in Israel, we mentioned this, but the sirens are warning of an attack there in northern Israel. So we're waiting to see if those Iranian missiles or potentially Hezbollah missiles are intercepted or if there is an impact of any kind there. We will, of course, get information from the medics in that area as they head to any potential impact sites, and we'll, of course, keep you posted. Now, we also have this post coming in from President Donald Trump. You can see that on the left-hand side of your screen. He says, "The country of France won't let planes headed to Israel loaded up with military supplies fly over French territory. Right. France has been very unhelpful."
I've got a video that I want to play. It's a video of an alleged Iranian military member, and I find this awesome. And see, you're going to see all kinds of lies coming from Iran. It's in their mission statement, never to admit defeat. So, naturally, they're going to project all the BS that they can. Yeah, here you go. One more time. So, I mean, these people are known for lying. And I mean, since when do we believe these lying pieces of human garbage anyway? You know, they lied to us about their missile capability, proving Trump right when he said that they had the ability to strike Europe in a State of the Union address that nobody wanted to believe. They wanted to call him a liar. Once again, Trump was vindicated. What do you think about that video you just saw? You think it's bullshit? I mean, it could be. It could have been, that could have been an American trooper who threw on some greens. Because, I mean, they're out there in the desert. Why would they be wearing green camouflage? So, you know, I can argue both sides of this. That is just my ability to shed my biases. I really want it to be true, but we don't know for a fact yet that it is. It's unconfirmed, right? And being that they probably can't confirm it, you're probably not going to see that on any mainstream media. That's just the name of the game.
Why should I have to pay for others? Communism is not the way to go in New York City. New York is our biggest city in the country. It is a beacon to the world.
Yep. Yeah, he's not wrong. But
and really the whole tariff story not going away. Then you have the secular stories not broken from a fundamental perspective. It's funny, like everyone's talked about software quite a bit. Earnings revisions up and to the right. Again, that's not the reason they trade down. Semiconductors up. Revisions up. I think Micron alone was maybe 6 to 8.
This momdami jackass.
City, off the city, and let's thrive again. Let's get back to the 1990s, a powerful New York where it was the beacon for the world.
Yeah,
well, then you would have to go.
Why? Because they're actually running out of money. But let's now hear from Mayor Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah, you'd have to go for that to happen.
This is a site that will be 100% free with the childcare that it provides. It'll provide full daycare from children as young as 6 weeks to as old as 3 years old. And on April 30th, these applications will open for every single worker in the David Dinkins building, as well as every single DCAS employee, regardless of their location across the city.
Yeah, who's paying for this?
Look at him wearing a hard hat as though he's actually working hard. The thing is, he wants to use hardworking, to Anthony's point, Madeline, he wants to use hardworking people's money at a time in which there's a $7 billion budget shortfall. So at the same time, he's saying free programs. This is not adding up.
No, it sure as hell ain't.
J.D. Vance's solution was to have grandma and grandpa watch the kids, right? Which some people don't have grandparents to be able to do that, especially not, as we were just speaking about before, somebody who might have a one household income who doesn't have anybody else to rely on. Again, if you want to go back in time and make New York City the way that it was when it was
You'd have
great,
to get rid of Mom Dummy.
Remember that it's always been a struggle for people who have a working class income. It's always been difficult for those folks. And so if you are creating a system where you can make sure that New York runs smoothly, where people, because they have childcare, they're not in poverty, because they have childcare, they can get to work and they can afford other things. There's less crime, there's less homelessness, because people can maintain the jobs that they have. That makes for a functional society, and we can't keep pretending like taking care of the people who are making the least among us isn't going to make all of us better.
Making the least, I'm pretty sure government workers in New York, the average paycheck is $100,000. But my question is, so birth rates are the lowest they've been in history. People aren't having kids because they can't even afford their own kids. So why should they?
Yeah, boo-hoo. You know, you people caused this problem. Idiots that voted for that complete piece of shit.
Space mission in America's history. Here are a few rocket launches that stand out as pivotal moments in space exploration. Again, that is a post.
I find it interesting we're this mission to the moon. I find it interesting that we're doing this for the first time in 50 years. Why now? You know, why now? Why are we going to the moon now? What's the significance of the timing? Yeah, I find it very interesting.
Science along the way. This is more.
I mean, it's great for patriotic morale, but there's going to be, those who just don't give a damn. You know, people like the morons who voted for Mamdani, for example.
6:24 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Again, that is just the window itself. It doesn't mean the launch actually has to happen right there at 6:24, but it could happen anytime during the window. We will have live coverage here on Live Now from Fox, again, with the help of our Fox 35 Orlando.
See what Bloomberg's saying.
Drew, thank you, sir. It's good to see you. Drew Pettit there of Citi. Coming up tomorrow, Steve Orth, the Federated, Tom Becker of BlackRock, Liz Ann Saunders of Charles Schwab, Nouriel Roubini of Roubini Macro Associates, waving goodbye to Q1.
Yeah, just wait for April. I mean, that's all I can think. You know, hold my beer, because that's how this year's gone.
Hello, Q2. We'll see you tomorrow morning, live from New York City this morning. Good morning. This was Bloomberg Surveillance.
Welcome to the. We are getting closer to the market opening. We've got about 30-ish minutes until the market opens. What is everybody's money looking like today, guys? Bitcoin looks like it's struggling. I do not believe that it's going to do very much of this, but very much good. However, it may continue to keep rising back on up into the 70s, but if I had any skin in the game, I'd be shorting it all the way up. Because I just don't think that the bear market's over yet. I just don't believe it is. With good reason. I mean, this is from, 2017. And this is the very clear trend line that it's been setting. We have not yet touched it. That would require us to go down into the 50s. Maybe right at 60. But I tend to feel like it very well could go lower. Thing is, if it breaks this trend line, it'll go into the 40s for sure. For sure. The absolute bottom is in the 30s somewhere, as a matter of fact. I don't think it's going to go all the way down there, but it certainly could. Oil futures looking sideways. I think the market's just waiting on some sort of catalyst. Dollar looks like it is leveling off right below the 100 mark. Silver not doing much of anything. Gold matching that idea. Pre-market right around, or we're in pre-market, derp. But yeah. So our crypto heat map looking flat. Stock heat map's looking pretty green, man. we're looking pretty green. We're looking pretty green, baby. Might have a good day ahead. Let's see what these jerks on TV are talking
He's
about.
all action.
John, I know you said earlier in the show this war is lasting a little bit longer than you would have originally anticipated. What are you thinking about the Secretary of War's comments there?
You know, I think the American people are a little confused. They're patriotic. Where's the confusion? Well, initially it was supposed to be 3 weeks, but as you just mentioned, it's well beyond that. And then secondly, if it's going to be a short-term war,
geopolitics is an ever-changing landscape. Don't fool yourself into thinking you have a clue. As a peasant, like all of us, we aren't privy to the information that they're privy to. I just love how people on social media just latch on to what they want to be true. It makes me sick. It just makes me sick. How many times have you heard me rant about
Deserves
it?
a little bit more information about, okay, how high are gas prices going to go and how long am I going to be paying higher prices
exactly,
for
because
this?
the longer this war goes on, the longer and higher the gas prices are. But we have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us this Tuesday morning.
Thank you. We'll see you bright and early on Wednesday. News Now is next.
More bombs, sir. And bigger bombs. Let's finish.
What a soundbite.
And fell on homes, wounding 4 people. We have not received an update on their conditions just yet, but again, 4 people wounded, according to officials in that area. As far as the UAE Defense Ministry says, it's been actively engaging missiles, drones, as sirens are still sounding over in Israel amid more attacks from Iran and the Iran-backed Hezbollah terror group, both of them happening right here. And as you're looking at your screen, this is actually a live look over Beirut in Lebanon, where we know that Israeli troops, they have military on the ground there working to fight against the Iran-backed Hezbollah terror group. We've also learned from Iranian state media that 2 members of an exile group have been hanged today. The pair identified as Babak Alipour and Puya Gobadi. Amnesty International says that Tehran's Revolutionary Court convicted the men in a, quote, grossly unfair trial after subjecting them there to torture. 2 other members of that same exile group were hanged on Monday. We also know that Saudi Arabia and the United Arab...
God damn it. This whole thing pisses me off so bad. So much so, I'm going to play my video because I think people need a refresher. This makes me sick. Makes me sick that we're allowing these pieces of human garbage to actually get their story out. God damn, it makes me sick. Here, check this out. Maybe some volume, huh? If you don't support the war against the Islamic Republic of Iran, then you have a hole in your head. You want some facts? I'll give you some facts. 1988, Khomeini signed a secret document to kill every political prisoner in Iran. It took place in 32 cities. It took 5 months. 5,000 people, at a minimum, were killed during that time. Khomeini's deputy wrote that 30,000 were killed, and he also said children 13 years of age were hanged from cranes 6 at a time under the direct order of the Ayatollah. Prisoners were loaded in forklift trucks 6 at a time and killed every half hour. 2015, 977 protesters were murdered. 4,025 people were executed in the 2 years after the protests. 1,000 people were executed in 2005 alone. The 2019 fuel prize protest, 1,500 people were killed. 2009, during the Green Movement, 72 protesters were murdered. 2022, it just goes on and on. Life Freedom Movement, 551 protesters were killed, mostly women. 68 of them were children. 104 people were killed in one single day in Zahedan on September 30th, 2022. Between December 2025 and January 25th, 2026, 22,000 people were arrested for protesting. During this time, over 36,500 were killed. 30,300 people were killed during January 8th and 9th, which was reported by the doctors in the hospitals. Between 1980 and 1988, the war between Iran and Iraq. Iran sent boys as young as 12, and they sent the elderly into minefields with a key and told them it was a key to the gate of paradise. During this time, approximately 70 people were killed every single day. February 15th, 1979, the Islamic Revolution was only 11 days old when the killing started. 4,605 people confirmed executed by 1982. 9,500 people executed by 1985. 40,000 people were arrested in those 6 years. That consisted of teachers, lawyers, gays, Jews. And you think these people don't need liberation from this absolute insanity? Stop clinging to party lines and recognize the truth. The truth is the Islamic Republic of Iran is a terrorist organization fueled by ridiculous ideologies and theocratic nonsense. The Islamic Republic of Iran must die. Just be honest. The only reason you're against this war is because Trump. That's it. You can't see past your hatred for Trump, which I'll grant you, you have perfectly good reason to despise the man. I'm not doubting that. I just find it highly hypocritical that so many of you stand so firm on your party lines in the face of absolute justification for crushing these complete pieces of human garbage. How do you sleep at night? Would you like to know why these animals do the things that they do?
Would you?
Click right here.
Oh, I think I will. I think I will.
Whoa. What's that? I just built a budgeting app in Base 44. Guys,
You know, I'm seeing a lot of people running their mouth on social media, and seeing a lot of people on the news, vastly mischaracterizing the position of this Islamic Republic in Iran. And I thought it would be important to drop some facts so that, if you want to protest this war, that you're fully educated on the subject. Now, why does Iran want to wipe out Israel? Well, this is a religious holy war built on prophecy and their ridiculous belief system. Now, they have a right to have this ridiculous belief system.
They sure do.
Until it starts hurting other people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to know there are two main segments of Islam, the Sunni and the Shia. Now, Islam has many denominations, like Christianity does. But the two major denominations are Sunni and Shia. The Shia Muslims are who rule Iran today. And within Shia, there's another dimension, or excuse me, there's another denomination called the Twelver Shia. Now, they believed that when Muhammad died, there would be 12 imams after his death. The final imam, the 12th imam, was Imam al-Mahdi. In 937 AD, Imam al-Mahdi vanished. And the Shia Muslims, they don't believe that he died. They believe he just disappeared, went into another time or another dimension. Okay? Similar to the way some Christians believe that Enoch went into hiding.
Retards.
They are currently waiting on Imam al-Mahdi to return from hiding. And the only way he will come back is when the world is in chaos and once the land of Israel is destroyed. For the leaders of Iran, wiping out Israel is not politics, it's prophecy. Iran and the Shia Muslims, they're a pretty good distance away from Israel. So if they want to fulfill this prophecy, they've got to create proxies around Israel. Other armies to do their work for them. Now, in 1979, the Islamic Revolution overthrew the Iranian Shah. Now, in 1981, they then created a terrorist group known as Hezbollah in Lebanon. Later, they backed Hamas in Gaza and the Houthis in Yemen. 3 armies that are far closer to Israel to do their dirty work. They finance these guerrilla armies to bring on the fulfillment of this prophecy, to bring on Armageddon.
Yep.
The war of attrition. Surround them. Wear them out. Hezbollah is trained, funded, and armed by Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps.
Yep.
They pretty much are their secret police, CIA, Navy SEALs all in one, right? And they wanted a proxy army close to Israel. That's Hezbollah.
Yep.
And Iran, at the top, is your supreme leader, the Ayatollah. Below him, he's got his personal army. And then there's the president, parliament, courts. But it's a theocracy. It's a religious dictatorship. And their sole mission is to destroy Israel. That's it. That's it. Destroy Israel.
Yep.
Now, what makes them so dangerous is that they've decided that what they'll do is attack Israel by hiding weapons and dispatching them from civilian locations.
That's exactly
like
what
hospitals and schools that are in everyday neighborhoods, so that when Israel defends itself and strikes back, they can make Israel look like the bad guy and say, look, they're attacking our schools and our hospitals. This helps in the media and appearing like the innocent good guys to the rest of the world, confusing these half-wit college students into thinking they're fighting for justice when they're just being played. And in the process, they're only contributing to the ploy of these complete and utter pieces of human garbage.
I sure do love that phrase, don't I?
Iran and Hamas and Hezbollah, they have all said they want civilians to die.
Absolutely.
They've admitted the more civilians that die, the better.
They sure have.
We sent $7 billion to Iran for a prisoner exchange. And we didn't even get back one of those prisoners. They executed him, an American citizen. The Islamic Republic of Iran does not want peace. They want Armageddon. And the Islamic Republic will not stop. The Islamic Republic must die.
You're damn right.
This war is justified.
That is just my opinion. However, if you have any questions regarding all of the information I just put forth in that video, it would profit you to take a look in the description. There are dozens of sources from where I gained all of that information from. Verifiable sources. So, source bro guy shows up. Source? Yeah, I got you. Anyway, all right. Back to the noose.
What if you could see the biggest options trades the moment they hit the market?
What if you could see my penis?
This ready to
all of that with the IRGC and other aspects. So it's not clear whether diplomacy will actually or deliver the results, and if not, will President Trump order these strikes, which would be a clear escalation of the campaign? And then how would Iran respond?
Look, Iran's not going to back off. They're not going to slow down. They're not going to surrender. Their nonsensical belief system forbids it. They can't surrender. So that being said, turn them into fucking glass. Tired of this nonsense. Tired of these idiots making their dumbass little videos. Now, they're winning the meme war, that's for sure. But these smug bastards, they need to be brought to their knees and bow down to a superior force. A superior force that'll bury their prophet.
Interview with Israel's Bibi Netanyahu by our CEO Chris Ruddy here, and the Archbishop who was blocked.
That's funny. The CEO of Newsmax stepped in and goes, "No, you're not getting this story. I'm interviewing him." All right, we are 15 minutes away from the opening bell. I'm going to put Bloomberg back on, and I'm going to go run for one last smoke. And we will check out market opening when I return. Morning bells on the way, baby.
Bella shopper and the REI shopper want the same things. They want clean air, and they want clean water, and they want to be able to recreate outdoors. So until we figure out how to get on the same page, we will continue to lose. We cannot afford to lose anymore. We need to build a winning coalition of people across the political spectrum, or we will never create the solutions that we need.
It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. We'll show you what's happening in ETFs like no one else. ETF IQ, only on Bloomberg. When news breaks,
a redhead across the Bloomberg terminal.
Bloomberg has you covered.
Trump's global tariffs are struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court.
For all the context and clarity you need.
There's going to be now tons of tariff headlines until midterm elections.
Hear it first on Bloomberg.
Let's get now to high interest. Look at what's making headlines around the world. Delta Airlines has agreed to use Amazon satellites to deliver in-flight Wi-Fi service. The airline announcing in a statement, Amazon Leo internet service will be installed on 500 aircraft starting in 2028. It marks a big win for Amazon's space business as it vies with Elon Musk's Starlink for aviation customers. Of course, a lot could happen between now and 2028. Whoop is now valued at $10.1 billion for after a new funding round, I should say. The company has more than 2.5 million members and was cash flow positive in 2025 with subscriptions increasing more than 100%. This comes as the company considers an IPO in the next couple of years. Catch my interview with the CEO of Whoop, Will Ahmed, at 11 a.m. New York time on Bloomberg Tech. And Unilever is combining its food business with McCormick in a deal worth nearly $45 billion. The agreement will give Unilever and its shareholders the biggest stake over a newly formed global seasonings and condiments giant. Unilever and shareholders will have 65% of the company. McCormick, which its shareholders will have 35%, but it's going to keep the McCormick name. It's going to keep the headquarters. It's going to keep the C-suite. So who's buying whom? Danny, it's an interesting deal.
Let's talk about it and the structure of it with Bloomberg Deals reporter Crystal C. Crystal, can you actually explain just like what this combination looks like? Because as Matt said, it's not exactly the most straightforward thing.
It is definitely not the most straightforward deal. Just to think about it, is that Unilever is thinking about divesting its food business, and it's a business that does not belong, in their opinion, in the whole umbrella of Unilever. So in that regard, like, they are getting rid of a business, while that business is still massive. So they are still going to be delivered. The combined company will be delivering $20 billion in revenue. So just think about that. Even the divestiture itself will make it actually a bigger piece of the combined company than the original McCormick business, even though it will now be named McCormick.
Well, I mean, what's left at Unilever after this? Everything Unilever makes that we know is now McCormick, right? So what is under the umbrella of Unilever?
So now you will no longer see the Hellman mayonnaise, you will no longer see the Marmite, but you will see that Unilever is transforming itself into a pure play personal care player. And food has been a really challenged business, and we've actually seen quite a few strategic review from big food corporates. Some of that is because of the impact of GLP-1, and less so, GLP-1 still does not impact, whether you have to buy laundry detergent, whether you have to buy dish soap. And so Unilever is making a statement that they are now going to be focused on personal care, home care, more so than food businesses.
There does have this feeling of a lot of consumer deals recently, Crystal. I was just looking at the ones we got in about the past couple of weeks. Yesterday, your team reporting on Allbirds being bought by a fund that owns a bunch of different consumer brands. Pernod Ricard buying a Jack Daniels maker. Puig confirming talks with Estee Lauder. What's in the water right now?
Yeah, I think consumer issues going through a pretty challenging period. And I think the really good way to think about it is how these deals are actually years in the making, if not almost a decade. And these companies have been thinking about how to get growth, how to buy growth. Some of them have done smaller deals in the form of tuck-in acquisition. For instance, Estee Lauder had divested brands. They have looked at new brands, but then now they're really in the crossroad of having to think about what is strategic and what is transformative, and we're seeing that played out, especially because economy is potentially coming to a downturn, and a lot of consumer companies are feeling the heat from their customers. So Allbirds is a good example.
Well, I was just going to say, and actually this is away from Allbirds, so apologies for jumping in there, but should we make anything of the fact that this McCormick deal, the Pernod Ricard, and Estee Lauder, that they're all cross-border deals?
Yeah, I think there is an element of that. I think just globally, food tends to be a pretty global business, as well as apparel and all of those other consumer categories, because they're so brand-driven. I think there's also an argument to be said that scale really does matter in this market, and if you can really diversify your customer base, your source of suppliers, those are all very good strategy to have in a market that is potentially coming to a downturn.
All right, Crystal, great having you on the program. Bloomberg Crystal C, breaking the news on deals left and right. You can catch, by the way, the Bloomberg Deals program every Wednesday at 12 noon New York time. That's an hour-long program focused exclusively on M&A.
Heard it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I watch it every week. It's interesting because the brands that Unilever will be left with, right. Americans will know Dove, the soap, and may know... I guess Axe. Do we have that body spray Axe here? It's very big in Europe.
Yeah. No, isn't it called something? It's like Lynx in Europe and Axe here.
Right. Okay. And then Persil,
but do you think it's like a
liquid?
little bit of like the lipstick effect, that maybe if times are tough, you buy white label food products. You don't spend up for the brand names. But when times are tough, you also spend on nice little luxuries. People go out, they still buy lipstick, they still buy personal care. So maybe this is also a safer economically kind of portfolio that Unilever's left with.
Right. You still need to buy your Tresemme.
Yeah, and if
I don't.
Yeah, no, you don't. I was going to say if you're in GLP-1s, you still need Tresemme, but...
All right, let's take a look at what's going on with futures. Tresemme, by the way, is a shampoo, for those of you who don't know. We're looking at big gains here after the Wall Street Journal reported that President Trump would be willing to just leave Iran without the Strait of Hormuz reopened, I guess without recovering the highly enriched uranium, without regime change, without unconditional surrender. That's just a report from the Wall Street Journal. And it's safe to say that Pete Hegseth made it sound like we're willing to go at it even harder at his press conference at 8 o'clock. But the markets are bidding up stocks on that Journal report. So S&P futures and NASDAQ futures remain up more than 1%.
Coming up on the show, Cameron Dawson from New Edge Wealth says it's ironic how investors are looking through the war impact on earnings and the economy. We're going to explain more. She will join the show. Coming up next, this is Bloomberg Open Interest.
It's the world's second largest economy with a growing influence in global affairs. Bloomberg The China Show brings you the unmatched expertise you need to keep track of breaking news, in-depth market analysis, and the most influential newsmakers in and around China.
We need to do more to engage the market more. We're risk on. I think we caught a little sweet spot.
Massive savings right now.
It's already a different game.
Bloomberg The China Show. Weekdays around the world, right here on Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
The world's business and financial news whenever and wherever it happens. I'm Michael McKee at Mount Everest, and this is Bloomberg.
Astonishing day for US technology.
shaping the region's technology ecosystem.
Asia's biggest tech news and innovation.
You know how the market day started.
Find out how it finishes.
Public markets to private markets.
From the micro to the macro.
Covering retail, entertainment, the business of sports.
The supply chains, trade policy, how it all is impacting the U.S. equity market as we drive to the closing bell at 4 p.m.
A holistic approach to covering financial markets.
If it matters to your life, we're covering it. I'm Katie Greifeld.
And I'm Romaine Bostic, and this is The Close.
Live every weekday.
Only on Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
What is going to be the consequence for U.S. markets? We are seeing modest gains across European equity markets.
Take a look at how we're faring when it comes to Asian markets.
And time again. New Edge Wealth's Cameron Dawson says that the irony is that compared to all of those other disruptions, the Iran war likely has the most immediate impact to growth given the jump in energy prices, and yet analysts have been hesitant to cut forecasts this time around. Joining us now is New Edge Wealth Chief Investment Officer Cameron Dawson. And Cameron, I love this take because so many people have been burned in the past by past crises, saying everything has changed. Should they, though, be downgrading their estimates this time around?
I think the answer is yes, because we can see a more immediate impact to growth than something like tariffs. If we think about tariffs, it was going to take a long time for those to work through the system, to work through supply chains, and yet analysts were really quick to cut their forecasts in 2025. And so we think in this time around, the fact that analysts aren't cutting their forecasts is likely more of a sign of complacency and hope that this will pass quickly, not necessarily being very grounded in reality.
So, I mean, the biggest concerns are hit to growth, obviously.
All right, we are 5 minutes out from the opening bell. What kind of day are we going to have today, guys? What kind of day are we going to have today? Whoops, I hit the wrong button. Let's go over to... No, let's not. As much as I want the TSA workers to get paid, that is not at the height of importance at the moment.
As we know that a Russian oil tanker is set to arrive. It does not appear that it's officially arrived just yet, but that tanker is going to bring 730,000 barrels of crude oil, and it's the first shipment like that to the island.
That's good. That's a good start, but the world uses over 1 million barrels a day. And where is that going?
Here on Live Now from Fox. We're going to head to a quick break now at 9:26 on the East Coast and 6.
Yep. Now I'm going to go over to Bloomberg because the market's coming. The market opening's coming. I'm not going to key them up quite yet, though, because when that screen's up, they're playing music, and YouTube wants to charge me a nickel every time they play that fucking music. You know what? I'm going to go over... Let's check out Schwab. Opening bell is on the way.
Eurozone inflation, Nicole? Wow, 2.5% up from 1.9% in February. Now, this is, of course, going to be watched very closely by the ECB.
Yeah.
It's got a target of 2%. So that's sitting above that now. The market pricing in 2 to 3 rate.
Just so you know, you see that timer in the bottom right? That's the timer that they've got showing that the bell is coming in the less than 2 minutes. Keep in mind, there is about a 20-second delay. So you can bank on, I'm looking at a 20-second delay on my stream. So theirs likely has a 5 to 10 second delay as well. So when that gets to about 30 seconds, that's when the bell, when you see it at 30 seconds, that's when the bell will go off. When I see 20 seconds is when I'll announce it. But yeah.
So
2 minutes, less than about a minute.
Centessa, and the details of this is going to be a $7.8 billion deal here, and the importance is to diversify Eli Lilly's portfolio beyond just obviously what it's in the business of now, mostly weight loss. So as I mentioned, this is a UK-based company, Centessa. We are seeing shares up to the races right now. Really, really big rally for this company, up in 45% or so. As I mentioned, in the business of treating disorders that cause excessive daytime sleepiness. And I'm just been looking at some of the notes out from the analysts about just the scope and scale of the narcolepsy market right now, about $2.5 billion. So no doubt a big opportunity here for Eli Lilly. Johnson & Johnson apparently looking to get into this type of business as well. $38 per share in cash is what Eli Lilly is offering here, a premium
there we go.
7.8% to the current stock's last close. So a nice bump for both of these companies today, particularly Centessa.
Sam Vadas, thank you so much. Great to see you. And folks, get ready. The opening bell will ring here on Wall Street.
Right.
Hershey is here with a chant to celebrate their Investor Day and their last report that they just gave out with some good guidance. The company right now, that stock is up about 0.75% here, trading at $215 year to date, up about 18%. Stocks on Wall Street higher across the board, 1% up across the board. So that may help to get some of these out of correction territory, because we were saying that the Dow, the Nasdaq, the Russell, and the Dow Jones Transportation Average were all in correction territory, 10% off the highs. So the S&P right now up 71 points, 64.14. The Nasdaq 1.1% higher, 265 points to the upside. Dow Jones Industrial Average up 500 points, 45,715, up 1.1%. And the Russell 2000 gaining 1.6%. The Dow is now up 508 points as I look up at the big board, 519 points. So as we look across the board here and just get a feel of what's leading the way, some of these best performing groups include right now consumer discretionary, consumer communication services, tech, industrials, and financials. Those are some of your best performers here right this second. You can see also technology up 1.45%. By the way, McCormick, which we talked about some deal making there, is down about 9%. But some of the winners on the S&P, well, that includes Lennar. That's a winner. And we continue to take a look at some of the other movers. And George Sillis is with us. And you're looking at Western Digital with an upgrade. Good morning to you, George Sillis.
Yeah, good morning, Nicole. I mean, it's been a kind of a rough week for the memory.
Okay, we got a lot of green today. Biggest gainer so far is Apellis Pharmaceuticals. Congratulations if you're holding any of that. You're looking at 136% jump. That's pretty damn good. Class over holdings up 88%, 89%. System 1 up 25%. Texon, Artello, Wave Sciences. The biggest losers, Pepgen Inc. Ouch. I feel for you if you have any of those. Look at Battalion Oil as one of the losers of the day. Very interesting. Very interesting. I wonder what the catalyst for that is. Battalion Oil files 8K unregistered equity sales. Their revenue fell short. Ouch. All right. Damn, look at that. Yeah, people are selling the news. We're seeing a lot of green today, baby. This is the start of the week we should have gotten yesterday. Nvidia up a fair amount. Everything in the watch list is looking pretty good. Broadcom taking a nice jump. Looks like it's coming back down a little bit. ST Microelectronics, a nice jump. Astronics, one of my favorite companies just on the name because That name, Astronics, is one of the best names. I don't think there's any other name of any other company better than Astronics. I just love saying Astronics. And then, of course, NVIDIA. Come on, you piece of shit. NVIDIA, wow, look at that. I mean, you know, it's not that big of a deal, but it looks good. It damn sure looks good. What did I just see in the news for NVIDIA? 3 minutes ago, they invested $2 billion in Marvell as part of the chip partnership. NVIDIA, Marvell Technology. Yep. They're taking a stake in its AI chip rival, Barron's. Interesting. When a company buys into one of their rivals, usually they aim to bury them or absorb them. NVIDIA is the most valuable company in the world, so that doesn't really surprise me. The dollar coming down a little bit. Looks like oil futures are trying to make its way up. And we've got some job openings coming later today that will probably impact that a little bit. Bitcoin still trying to creep its way up. I don't know that that's going to be sustained. Bitcoin still has a hell of a climb to get to anywhere that we could count on a continued rise, in my opinion. I do believe this is going to be short term, and we're likely going to see it come down a little more. Since the dollar is coming down, I would expect silver to go up a little bit more than this, but the war has a lot to do with that. Nobody's very concerned with silver and gold at the moment because all eyes are on oil. And granted, this is nano crude oil. These are the cheaper of the two futures that you can get in on. Well, between this and Brent oil, of course. Still a lot of green in the market, man. We got some decent numbers. Looking like it's pushing 3% overall. Not bad. What kind of investments are you guys having right now? Who's making money today? What you want me to pull up? I'll pull up whatever you want. Just drop it in the chat. I'm going to go over to, let's see what Fox is saying.
Kids don't, and they're going to follow their dad where he goes and whatever decisions he makes and support him. So our job is to make sure that they're safe and all of them are safe and that they don't get hurt and they don't have that decision to get in the car or not get in the car.
Ages, again, 3 and 11. They were in the car. Mr. Valencia tells the officer he had gone to the market for snacks, Cheetos and soda, but he admits to the officer he also bought alcohol.
Yes, and then they locate.
Oh, who cares?
Correct.
As well. What do you make of the increasing support and backing from the Gulf states? Dr. Rabil, Turkey was just targeted overnight, so certainly they're engaged now, and a lot at stake here. But then the support from European allies seem to be...
I'm going to go over to Bloomberg.
The equity market. And what you heard from a lot of strategists who expected that and it didn't play out, they're like, it's because of stimulus. It's because the government stepped in that everything was okay. Could that repeat this time again, that you have a government and a Trump that's facing midterms and so stimulates the consumer and again, it's, oh, everything's okay?
I think it's a really interesting question of how high deficits could go because do we have the fiscal space given the fact that we went into this energy price shock with already pretty high deficits? We're now questioning whether or not we have to give the tariff money back. So that would push the deficit even higher. If you're talking about doing any kind of offsets or stimulus to consumers, that pushes the deficit even higher. And this is a very different world and potentially different Fed that's willing to step in and potentially buy all those bonds. Because if you remember, going back into COVID, inflation was very low already. So the Fed had a lot more degrees of freedom to step in and be able to provide very aggressive stimulus to help monetize some of that fiscal stimulus that we were seeing from Treasury.
It's true. We're at such a different different starting point. Cameron, thank you so much for joining us this morning. That's New Edge Wealth Chief Investment Officer Cameron Dawson. Let's get a check on your equity markets about 9 minutes into your trading day, and we are higher by 1.9%. We ended lower yesterday. It's been a tough month. As Matt pointed out, the worst start to the year since 2001. Is this what turning it around looks like, with the president reportedly, the Wall Street Journal, saying that he would end this war even if it means leaving the strait closed? It's the Mag 7 that is leading us higher with the overall more positive risk sentiment. Eli Lilly's in the top of the ledger just right here. They're doing a deal, buying a sleep treatments business. And losers, now for the individual indexes, everything is gaining except for utilities. So it's a flee from safety, maybe some more of the risky kind of names, consumer discretionary, communication services, infotech, all of those stand at the top of the pile, Matt.
I've got the
so
ETF
many deals today.
heat map.
So many deals.
Do you think about sometime?
I got, this is the ETF heat map of all the ETFs in America. That's a hell of a lot of green. They're on the low side. The lighter the green, the more volume. So the darker the green is closer. It's about 1%. So I mean, it's still green, but that's all in the equity class. In the fixed income class, though, however, it's very flat. It's all pretty much up, though, just not by much. The thing about ETFs is, look at the performance year to date in the last year. But we are up a hell of a lot. These are just better investments over time than trying to call the market. I think that's pretty well known. Wow, Battalion Oil continuing to suck it. Oil futures looking, that's silver futures. So it's still looking sideways. Here's your oil futures. It's trying. I got in on some oil futures yesterday. Made 20%. Not bad. But it was all the money I had in the world, which was a whopping $100, so I had to cash out. And it was a good thing I did when I did, because yeah, shortly thereafter, I think I sold right before 5 p.m. It was right about in here when I sold. It came up a little more, but ultimately I think that was a pretty good call, because it still hasn't reclaimed what it lost. So while I could have made 30%, I'll take my 20. Thank you very much. Nvidia hanging on to that rise, looking like it wants to plow through this resistance. It'll be about damn time. Nvidia has been all over the place. It's been all over the place. I'll tell you who I'm kind of curious to look at. The Supermicro old Michael Saylor. They took a huge hit. Wrong way. They took a huge hit last week, didn't they? Damn it. They took a huge hit last week when those people got busted smuggling chips into China. Ooh, not a good look, guys. They were smuggled Nvidia chips. And Nvidia shook that shit off. They weren't affected at all. But yeah, they took a 30% drop. Look at that. They took a 30% drop. And they are still sucking it. But that's a good time to buy Bitcoin, that is. I think Supermicro is a bit too volatile for me. You know what I mean? Considering they're a software company whose only reason for doing well is because of their Bitcoin reserves. You know, you can make some money on it for sure. But yeah, you need to believe in a company that you invest in. Bitcoin still up overall the last 4 hours. Heat map and stocks are still looking pretty good, guys. Looks like a decent day. Let's go over to some newsy news and see what's going on in the world, don't you know? Yeah, maybe not them.
enforcement around schools and child care centers that most people would agree on as well. So we just need to find a compromise here.
My last question here before I let you go. A lot of times you hear information come out, you kind of get bits and pieces as the American people. Why should the average American kind of pay attention to all of this as it unfolds?
Well, it does impact people's lives in very direct ways. And when people are seeing what's happening and witnessing the failures firsthand, then, they can hold their members of Congress accountable, and they can be in touch with them and let them know that and demand.
Hey! Fucking commercials. Shut up.
Particularly intuitive when you're talking about continuing resolutions and these short-term bills and these partial funding bills and unanimous consent, which is something that happened in the Senate. There's all this kind of parliamentary procedure that goes into it. So one of the things that I try to do is try to very clearly explain to people what's going on in a way that makes sense, or in some cases that doesn't make sense, because people are asking, why can't you guys just get this thing resolved? But I do think it's a great question. I'm appreciative for what services like yours do, because the more we can have the public informed and engaged and understanding what's going on, the better they'll be able to channel their wishes to their elected representatives to actually compel some action.
All right, Congressman Kevin Kiley, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here. Anything we missed? Anything that you want to make sure to mention here before I let you go?
No, I mean, I think that
I think right now would be an excellent opportunity to jump in on a call. Got a beautiful flag setting up right here. Question is, though, will it push through this? I guarantee you there's a lot of people who don't believe that it will. But technically, that is a triple top on the way down, granted. But, no, I guess it's not technically a triple. It's a double. But it may not push through that. But I don't know, man. It's looking pretty strong. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of naysayers pushing back on it, actually, that are shorting now. So you might actually be able to get a decent deal on a call. Not financial advice, of course. It could do anything. But I'm a risk-taking son of a bitch, so I would likely buy in on this if I could. But that's probably why I'm broke, huh? Because I take ridiculous risks. But, high risk, high reward, man. If you can absorb all the losses that are potential, you can make some serious jack. I have yet to claim that win, but yeah. In fact, I'm about $60,000 down. Sold my house and lost the majority of it. Yeah. I've still got some Bitcoin and crypto holdings that, it's technically it's not a loss until you sell, right? But so I've still got a substantial crypto portfolio. But if I were to sell now, I would literally be like, for every dollar I spent, it would cost me about $8, give or take. And I refused to take that loss. So I locked up the remaining crypto holdings of mine in staking pools, and I'm not going to touch it. I can't touch it for at least the first 6 months. And my goal is to let it sit there and make back everything it lost. And that might take a couple of years. And I'm currently homeless because I refuse. You gotta have balls of steel, baby. Look at that. What I tell you. See, you could have already made a little bit of cash. Not very much. But you damn sure could have on the way up on this. Could have got you. Shit. I always see the best opportunities when I can't do shit. Heat map's still looking great. Everything's looking great. Don't get too comfy, though. Something's always incoming, isn't it? What's the next catalyst going to be? Anybody want to take any guesses? Anybody want to call the market? Anybody want to make a prediction? I would love to hear some predictions. Because there's just a whole lot of nothing in the news and the market. Everybody's pretty much just waiting for information on this war. That's the main driving force of the market here in the last few weeks. Right. Let's see what old Bloomberg's talking about.
Is Lily an agent that helps you maintain or increase your ability to sleep and stay asleep? But remember that the GLP-1s have already been proven as a good mechanism to try and manage and reduce sleep apnea. So that's already in their label, and I think they're already used for that. So, but it's not just because of the weight loss, but of course it's related to that. But folks who have sleep apnea, despite being very light, I think they may not have as much benefit from GLP-1s as somebody who is suffering from sleep apnea because of obesity.
Hey, Sam, thank you very much for joining us. You're one of the best. Sam Fazeli from Bloomberg Intelligence.
Because of being fat!
The heat shield. I mean, after Artemis 1 launched over 3 years ago, it came back and engineers were shocked and surprised to see how much damage the heat shield sustained on coming back to Earth. And so that's why it's taken so long to prepare Artemis 2 for launch.
Hang on.
Visit from April 27th to the 30th, which will include a beautiful banquet dinner at the White House on the evening of April 28th. This momentous occasion will be even more special this year as we commemorate the 250th anniversary of our great country. I look forward to spending time with the King, whom I greatly respect. It will be terrific. Again, that visit, according to President Trump, is set for April 27th through the 30th. And that banquet will be held the night of April 28th. I can imagine that we are going to have a lot of live cameras there. So we'll bring that to you and any news conferences as well right here on Live Now from Fox. Right now, we do have several live events that are kicking off, and we're looking at a discussion here by the NTSB as there have been several different aircraft issues reported recently. I want to pop up the audio and listen in live as this is coming into our newsroom right now.
Cars like myself for 45 years, the human interface with new technology may be different than a new generation that's learning to drive. And I'm a big advocate for technology.
I'm going to pull up a video that I played a little while ago because I find this video very interesting. Perhaps you have seen it already. If not, allow me to play it for you. Yeah, this right here. Now, you know what sucks for him is if this is real, he's dead. Guaranteed. Because, the Islamic Republic of Iran, they refuse to show any morale decline. And they refuse to admit defeat. That's the nature of of theocratically fueled nonsense. In Ireland, armed citizen groups are forming to target those seen as enablers of the so-called Islamic invasion. What do you think? Would you arm up with people like this to prevent Islam from taking over where you live? I know I damn sure would. I'll be goddamned if I let that shit happen. If I have any say in it, you better kill me. No King's protester wearing an Arrest Trump t-shirt gets arrested. Womp womp. Loser. No, I agree with this. This one right here, I totally agree with this one. Absolutely. Don't be retarded and you won't be called a retard, will you, retard? I'm all about bringing back a retarded. It's wonderful. Oh, here we go. This is in their wheelhouse, man. They don't give a shit about the kids. For Christ's sake, they hung, I don't know how many thousand by crane. We have lowered the age to 12 and up to fight for their bullshit. To fight for their theocratic bullshit. Oh, God damn it. God damn it. I'm playing this shit on the wrong screen. Y'all are hearing it, but you ain't seeing it. There we go. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's exactly what those idiots do. No Kings protester wearing an Arrest Trump t-shirt gets arrested. Oh yeah, here's the idiots that are going to be voting in mass for during the midterms. Man, everybody, you got to get out and vote to counteract these jackasses that think they're going to have a blue wave. Don't be complacent. Don't think there is no way they can win. There are people who are one-issue voters. Oh, yeah, well, that's Trump. Fucking retards. Oh, that's definitely Trump. Oh, yeah. Retards. Retards. Because you're stupid. No, it's because you're stupid. Yeah, 10. These are the idiots that are going to be voting en masse for the midterms, man. Get out and vote. I'm telling you. Don't think that there's no contest. Don't laugh these idiots off. These idiots will be out voting in large numbers. This is how elections are won. Elections are won by the margins. It's always single issue groups that, once persuaded, they're the ones that decide these elections. That's why Trump won the presidency. Because he went after all of these smaller groups. He was smart. He went after all these smaller groups. He went after the crypto community, went after the marijuana community. He went after several of these one-issue groups. And that's why he won. By taking some of the Democrats' talking points. It was absolutely brilliant. Ah! Loser. Imagine that, bitch. Of course you didn't, because you listen to the fucking media. Retards. Hey, look. Trump equals Hitler. More morons. More knuckle-dragging morons. Give me one way. Give me one way. One way he's like Hitler. Oh, it does? Yeah, just one. It's not. No, it's not. One. They do have a voice. They do have a voice, and that's why they voted him in. You know, just because you're offended or pissed off doesn't mean you're right. It means you're a loser. Case in point, the election. Yeah, let me do it.
more of like a metaphor.
Right, right. Oh, metaphor. Okay. Do you think that though is upsetting to Jews who, like, 6 million Jews died, like people like in the Holocaust? Do you think that's like a fair comparison?
I think it's just trying to make a point. It's not.
Right, right.
Yeah, they're just trying to make a point, even if that point is stupid. Like your voter base. Oh, this is sad. This guy's dead already.
بابا مادر خیلی دوستون دارم نمیدونم چه اتفاقی میفته نمیدونم چی میشه داداش آبجی خیلی دوستون دارم
He is referring to the king. He's referring to, I forget his name, the guy that we want to be in power in Iran. And I think everyone needs to remember the words of this man and others like him who have been murdered by this ridiculous regime, the Islamic Republic of Iran. I think people need to keep that in mind when they vote during the midterms. And yeah, if you vote red, you better get out and vote, because these morons who are single issue voters, these morons will be out in droves. And if you want to protect what we've got going on in this country, your vote is necessary, because if you stay complacent, they will win. They will have this blue wave that they want so bad, because by and large, we all know the Democratic Party has zero policy issues that they're putting forth. The only policy that Democrats have right now that everybody's running on is Trump bad. That's it. That's all they've got. And you know what? There's a substantial voter base that will vote on that one issue alone. So if we want to protect what Trump has done and keep things the way that we want them to stay, then you need to go out and you need to vote red. Well, I appreciate everybody being here with me today. We are looking like we're having a decent day so far today. Look, we've got some 3% jumps, a lot of high twos, a lot of twos. Overall, it's a good day, man. I hope everybody made some money. I hope nobody loses any money. This is a volatile time in the stock market. There are plenty of dollars to be made. Get out there and make them. Silver's creeping up. Gold's creeping up. That's because the dollar is coming down. Looks like Nvidia busted through that resistance. Hell yeah. Super MicroStrategy taking a jump. Nice, not bad at all. Crypto heat map's looking good. Everything's looking fairly good, except for the dollar. That will soon change because of all the oil now that's being bought in petrodollars. That's going to change. This is the calm before a storm that's coming. Because if we can't get some form of resolution in Iran, you are going to watch oil run up. Wow, look at that. That's silver. You're going to watch, oh, must have had some good information come out. You're going to see oil run up to $150 a barrel if we have a more protracted war, if this takes a little longer, we're going to see it run. Wow, look at gold running too. I mean, that's just a 2% jump, but that's pretty damn good. Silver is almost a 6%. We're doing good. Damn, wish I could afford to get in on that. Oh, well, opportunities abound always. Bitcoin still rising up there. Over 30% of Bitcoin held long term, sitting on a loss. Well, yeah, and I'm part of that. All right. Well, I had fun today. I appreciate everybody being here. Guys, I hope everybody made some money. I will see you next time, people. Y'all be good to each other, okay? Try and put your biases aside when you're absorbing some of the stuff in the media, because we all know the media is biased as hell, and in some cases they're complicit. So take the things you see with a grain of salt. Don't latch on to the first story you see. Get all the facts. Just because you want it to be true doesn't mean that you're right. And just because you're mad, damn sure doesn't mean that you're right.
And the Pacific Departments of Political and Peacekeeping, Peace-Building Affairs and Peace Operations, and Mr. Tom Fletcher, Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator.
Well, they don't have anything new. Guys, take care. Love you in the mouth. Peace, love, and hair grease.